Willard Dibs that I'm sure not everybody knows.
And first-time partners.
Hang in there, big guy. There'll be brighter days ahead.
Now these two homegrown Bay Area boys finally come together to take over sports talk.
Get the hell off of my doorstep.
Major League Baseball, you stink.
It's Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
All right, the first thing that I want to say today, as if we haven't already said a few things, but the first thing with me and Larry in here today is welcome to the world, Mila Dibley. Mila Dibley, 5 pounds, 5 ounces.
Little clap there.
Yesterday, late morning, and that's right. Yeah, we're thinking about you, Dibs, and a new Dibley has joined the world.
Oh, man.
And she will be QB3 for the 49ers this year.
Babies are beautiful. And
I got a little picture on my phone yesterday afternoon.
Lots and lots of work.
She's beautiful. Yeah, no, he's got...
Don't touch that.
He's got his work cut out for him for the next 18 years of his
Remember
life.
the foam corners that you put on the counters so they bumped into the counters?
You know, it's so funny. As
the little plugs for the outlets.
You forget everything.
You got to baby-proof your whole freaking world.
If you're a parent, you forget everything. Like all it takes, because I have a son who's 8. It hasn't been that many years.
Right.
But like you go back into a house where there's a baby or a toddler and you're just like, oh gosh, I completely forget all of the stuff. Like you can't take a shower without right? You got to put the baby in that little bouncy chair right next to the shower.
Has a little reverb to it.
You can't leave them, not for a second. And it's just like, oh my gosh. God bless you, man. God bless you, and congratulations. Welcome to the world, Mila Dibley.
There you go.
All right, there it is.
Good luck to the Dibley Foundation.
Now we can scream about the 49er quarterback position for the next 3 hours. Now we can. And by the way, let's not let it be lost that it's also cut down day.
Yes,
and
big
so
day today.
Get the breaking news sounder ready, guys, because there will be pieces of information that are coming in. They're already coming,
some
right?
Good stuff.
Willie Snead. There's one of the other receivers. Was it Marcus Johnson, I think?
Marcus Johnson.
Yeah.
I saw Jordan Mills got cut.
Was also released.
The big move I saw this morning, C.J. Gardner-Johnson traded by the Saints to the Eagles.
Hey, are we sleeping on Philly when we talk about
Philly,
the NFC
watch
teams?
out for Philly.
Are we sleeping on that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I love C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
That's an interesting roster that has had an aggressive offseason, I would say, right?
Kellen Mond got cut today by the Vikings.
Well, that's not surprising.
A third-round pick. Seriously, it was like 2 picks in front of Trey Sermon.
I know, but
Trey Sermon may get cut today.
He could. I would vote that he's probably not going to, but he could. But anyway, all of that is going to be flowing in.
Yep.
1 o'clock is the deadline, but we will definitely be getting news throughout this show, and so stay with us because as soon as the tweets come, we will pass them along, especially when they're the big ones, the guys that you've heard of here on Cut Down Day. The 49ers have 28 and I guess now 26 with the 2 that we just announced, players to cut today. Larry Krueger in for Dibs for obvious reasons. Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game, and we want to open it up to you right away, especially after a day like yesterday. I'm still processing. In a way, like as a radio host, you're always kind of jealous whenever that breaks, and you're like, damn it, I wish that would have broken on our show. And then I was like, no, I'm really glad that didn't, because I needed 18 hours. I needed a night's sleep to process this, to really gather.
Read all the angles,
gather how I feel about it. And so this is what I'd say, because you adeptly sat here yesterday on this show and said, this is what you would do if you were them. And my response was, well, I don't even know, like, if the other side would agree to that. Well, now we know.
And you also brought up the locker room, all the media circus that obviously is going to show up. It's going to come.
And you said, don't worry about Trey's feelings. And I got to my point where I'm like, yeah, it's not about Trey's feelings. It's actually about everybody else. And it's about every football player who has told me that in a locker room, it does not feel right if you don't know who to look to as the guy. And we could very quickly, we're not yet, we know Trey Lance is the starting quarterback, but we obviously could very quickly get to a scenario where there are questions about that, number one. And number two, the guy who's not the guy has been the guy for a lot of these guys for the last 5 years. And so at minimum, that's complex. But for me, the bigger story is, and 888-957-9570 is the number. We'd love to hear from you today. Comcast Business Text Line. Hello, Twitch and YouTube. Thank you for watching. And Mike Holmgren in 20 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, is going to join us. And I think he can speak to this. But what really resonated with me, great article, Mike Silver in the Chronicle and others, this clearly states to me that at a minimum, the 49ers do not feel like Trey Lance is where they hoped he would be on August 30th, 2022. That is what I believe.
Okay, so what if they said this move isn't about Trey? This move is about not having Jimmy play in our division when we can get him to play for us for $6 million. What if this is about making your Super Bowl equation better and having the odds of you winning this year go up? Because I look at this football team as, and I said this to you earlier, maybe yesterday, maybe it was weeks ago, that the 49ers, you say, what's the biggest concern as far as going into the year? They don't have a backup for Trent Williams, but most teams don't. They don't really have a second tight end for George Kittle, behind George Kittle, that's any good. Sorry, Ross Dwelly and Charlie Warner. And what happens if their number one quarterback goes down? You're looking at, in their world, maybe Sudfeld. I actually like Brock Purdy, but you're still looking at Brock Purdy or Sudfeld. Purdy's a rookie, and Sudfeld has one NFL start to his credit. So a lot of the reason, we both think that Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches in pro football. He is sub 500. Sub 500. Why is he sub 500? Because he doesn't have good enough quarterbacks behind his number one quarterback, and his number one quarterback has consistently gotten hurt. So why not eradicate that problem if you can, and you can do it cheaply, and they have a guy that they like. Then at the core of this also is Trey and Jimmy do get along. So that's a win. I just look at this as Jimmy did what was best for Jimmy. The Niners did what was best for the Niners. And it just so happens they got on the same page.
Yeah, I see it
but you're looking at it as they're disappointed in Trey. And I would say to you, I don't believe that's the case.
I think disappointed's the wrong word. I think concerned is the correct word. There's a lot that you say right there, and you know this. I've said it a couple of times. There's a lot that you say there with which I agree, but that is in a vacuum for this year. Can they handle the chaos? Sure, they did once. They all told you they don't want to do it again, and now they are, which I find very interesting.
They went to the NFC Championship game amid this terrible chaos.
Right, and remember how circumstantial that was. They were also a hair away from missing the playoffs entirely because of the difficulty of figuring this out in the first 8 weeks of the season, where they were 3-5, and the locker room has now publicly stated much of that was about figuring out, is there a Trey package? Is there not a Trey package? Should we just get Trey? The locker room said, veteran players said, this didn't start working last year until Kyle committed to Jimmy. Forget the Trey package. Kyle, commit to Jimmy, because you need to be all in on your starting quarterback in the NFL. You have to be. No one else does it this way. And so all my point is you're not wrong with regard to the idea that this makes them deeper this year. But the idea that the 49ers wanted it this way, visualized it this way, that Jimmy visualized it this way, I think is crazy. This was definitely not
just because it's not
option one.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Just because it wasn't the original plan doesn't necessarily mean they're disappointed in Trey. Let's go review last year.
I didn't say disappointed, concerned.
Okay. Beyond that, this is even about Trey. Last year, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. They allowed Colt McCoy to complete 85% of his passes. Was that on the quarterback? No. So they had to get some things together last year on the other side of the football to make this big run. I don't look at it solely as, man, they really had this big quarterback distraction. It was really ugly, and then they finally weighed in. Now, there are examples in NFL history of that. We're going to talk to a guy in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, Mike Holmgren, who went to Bill Walsh and told Bill Walsh, you know what? Right now, this team doesn't have an identity because they don't know if they should back Steve or Joe. You have to make a call. And Walsh said, you're right. He thought about it. He said, I'm going with Joe. And the Niners took off from there. So that is one scenario. That is a thing.
It's a thing.
It was a thing in that scenario.
Yes.
But in this scenario, I look at it more as they had the asset in Jimmy. They clearly didn't want him or couldn't afford him at $25 million. But at $6 million, he's a real asset. He's an asset in the present. He's an insurance policy on Trey. You've immediately upped his trade value. Now you took an asset that you could not trade, and now you made him a commodity that's very, very attractive to other teams. So I just think it's, in some ways, Mark, I just think they kind of did what was best for them. And it also, and I think there is some element of it that Trey is raw, but they knew Trey was going to be raw when they drafted him.
So I have a question then. If all that's the case, like, wow, what a great opportunity for this year. You got your backup quarterback. He's really good. Everybody knows him, knows the system. Okay, so why'd they do it yesterday and not a month ago?
Because a month ago, I think Jimmy and Don Yee were probably thinking maybe there'll be options. And I think a month ago, the 49ers were thinking, let's take a look in the preseason if somebody gets hurt and somebody wants to give us a number one. It was not that long ago that Carson Palmer got traded to the Raiders for a pretty nice little haul going back to Cincinnati because the Raiders got in a situation where they felt they needed the quarterback. And I think the Niners just wanted to see if that scenario would show itself. It didn't. And now Jimmy's looking at his opportunities and saying, this is better than the other opportunities. And the Niners are looking at this going, yeah, this is good for us too, because now we took an asset that we couldn't trade. Now we can trade him, and we have an insurance policy, and we're still paying him less than our starter, and now we've got two chances.
So you think the 49ers were just in a sit-and-wait mode, not an active mode of trying to trade him every day for the last 8 months? That's your take?
No, I think they've been actively trying to trade him,
okay.
But I also think...
So this wasn't what they wanted to do. Like, if we're going to make this
they wanted to trade him, couldn't trade him because of the contract.
So then let's not talk about this.
The contract is why he's unmovable.
Right, but
now he's movable.
Right, but if we had known that he would play for 6.5, he's incredibly movable, and he still wasn't moved, and yet they were still trying to move him. So I guess my point is, let's stop acting like this is just this wonderful idea. Because if this was a wonderful idea, you'd have thought of it a month ago. You've had plenty of time.
What's the negative? What's the downside? I think it is a wonderful idea. Now you have two quarterbacks that you can win with.
I've said it two different ways. The downside is not as much about this year as in the messaging that they're telling you after 18 months they're not convinced about Trey Lance. And secondly, I will go with every veteran football player I've ever talked to who all states chaos at the quarterback position is a problem. You're going to give me 3 examples where it's worked in history, and I could sit here from here to the end of the show and give you all the examples where it hasn't. So that's the downside. I understand what you're saying that in this year.
You think that chaos is going to somehow hurt this team?
It could. It absolutely could.
I really don't believe that.
But I mean, there's no way to know the way this is going to play out. But to think that it couldn't be a problem, I think is a little naive. I mean, to look at this situation and not see the potholes in the road, there are plenty. And so there's a reason through years of building teams why coaches and GMs do it the way they do it, and they don't do it this way. This, to me, came down to bottom line. You tried to do it one way, both sides, Jimmy and the Niners, tried to do this for 8 months. It didn't work. You got to August 29th, and one of them was like, we don't have any other offers. And the other one was like, you know what? In the midst of you not having any other offers, we're not totally sure that our move heaven and earth quarterback is actually totally the guy we hoped he'd be. Okay, so let's do this. Like, this was a fallback from 3 other plans that didn't work. So it's not that it's bad.
It's not bad.
There are some, it could be. There are some positive aspects to it. But to me, what is underneath all of it is terrifying. It's terrifying.
No, see, only because you were under the false belief that it was just going to be a slam dunk with the quarterback. It was going to be some immediate.
It was supposed to be.
The most raw quarterback that we've ever seen enter the NFL.
But it's year 2.
I know, but the most raw quarterback we've ever seen in the last 40 years of the first round of the draft, the most inexperienced collegiate quarterback who stepped from the FCS level, because he may take a little bit of time to make an adjustment and they want to hedge their bet because they have a Super Bowl roster. I think you'd see other teams doing this as well that have young quarterbacks if they had a Super Bowl roster. But guess what? The Jets don't.
It rarely happens.
And the Bears don't.
It rarely
and
happens.
The Jags don't. And the Texans don't. So that's why you're not seeing those teams look for another option. But the Niners do. And so the Niners have a championship caliber roster. Those are not just names, those are people. And since you have to see Trent Williams, it would be nice if you're John Lynch to be able to say, hey, Trent, we're doing everything in our power, big boy, to get you that ring. And, now we got a better chance. I mean, you got to remember this, too.
That makes it sound like you're starting Jimmy. Like, that makes it sound like you're already starting him.
The possibility. Both quarterbacks had to play. Niner quarterbacks have gotten hurt a lot in recent years.
Right,
and
but
Trent's been there for it.
But that's an if. That's an if that
happens.
But it actually more often than not doesn't. Like, quarterbacks can make it through a season, and most NFL teams
every year in the last 5 for the 49ers.
Right, that's Jimmy. And actually, no, it hasn't happened every year. He was healthy the year they went to the Super Bowl, and he was largely healthy outside of 2 games last year. So, like, if I go to the Chiefs, if I go to the Chargers, if I go to the Bills, the Packers, the Bucks, none of them are thinking, boy, really need some good stuff at backup quarterback. They don't, because
they would gladly take Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup quarterback.
They're all, yes, in a different circumstance. You're really missing context, I believe. This is Jimmy freaking Garoppolo. He's been the quarterback, the leader for these guys for the last 5 years. Now you're asking all of them to flip the switch and just be like, no. Now he's not.
They were both on the roster last year, and they handled it.
In very different circumstances, and they told you at the end of the year.
How's it so different?
Because the other one was the starter.
Right, but they're still competing.
They both told you at the end of the year they hated it. They told you how hard it was.
First of all,
why would you sign up for it again?
Was last year successful? Yes, they made it to the NFC Championship game.
I know, but so circumstantial. They needed a miracle comeback in the fourth quarter, week 18. Listen to Jimmy at the end of the year last year.
Trey was really cool. He was down to earth. Didn't really come in entitled or anything like that. Just was a normal guy, and I appreciate him for that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It was it was a strange year. It's I don't know if I wish that on anybody, but it was it worked out. We're here now.
He was a great guy, and it was a strange year. And they made it one step to the Super Bowl.
You're picking quotes. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And they just signed up to do it. Right.
It worked.
And listen to the way he said it worked. Like, it was almost like, whoops, it worked. Don't want to do that again. And here we are.
But it's competition. And it's, they're going to compete.
They're going to know compete. That. Your mind isn't, you're a very X's and O's guy, and I get it.
No, I'm not. But it's
you
have two chances to win, Mark. I asked this question to a lot of different people over the last month. If I gave you a big ticket, $100,000 on the Niners, and you can have just Trey Lance, or you can have Trey Lance and Jimmy, what would you prefer? And you know what? If you really think about it, when you think about the NFL and how often quarterbacks and how often guys get hurt, if you really had $100,000 ticket, I would rather have the scenario where I have 2 quarterbacks. One, because you have to qualify for the playoffs first. So there's 17 games over 18 weeks. You have to qualify. What if Trey's great and he gets hurt for 7 weeks,
Larry,
and you miss the playoffs?
I've already accepted
Shanahan
those scenarios.
doesn't want to waste another year.
I've already accepted
Trent
those
Williams'
scenarios.
Career.
But you're acting like that's the lead. Like, you don't build a team based on what if my guy gets hurt. You build a team around, I got an awesome quarterback. That's step one.
Depth matters.
Do you know what you said earlier today that I find fascinating? Keep talking about Trent Williams. It's like, Mark, you forget these are humans. No, Larry, you're forgetting these are humans. Because in the next sentence you go, who cares about Trey's feelings?
Because it's not about feelings. It's about opportunity to win championships.
Right. And this, in my opinion, does not put you
So you think they have a better chance to win a championship with just Trey than with Trey and Jimmy? Because I think they have a better chance with Trey and Jimmy.
Can I try to state it again? I agree with you. ... But I think they'd even have a better chance to win a title if they had a dude who they thought was a dude. And they clearly don't. That's my issue. You're right about this year, this moment. There is an insurance policy.
I don't agree with at all, because
they wouldn't do this.
Is Trevor Lawrence not the dude? Is Zach Wilson not the dude?
Andy Reid was in the same situation that the 49ers hoped they'd be in this year, and he got Alex Smith the heck out of town because he knew he had a dude. And the 49ers have watched Trey Lance every day. I think we forget. You actually should be the first one to know this with how hard you work in being at these practices and going everywhere you go. I can't wait till my kids are your kids' age so I can do the same thing. Okay? You're there every day. You watch every single day. If they were 1,000% sold like we have a dude, they wouldn't do this to him. They wouldn't bring this dynamic into the locker room.
You keep making this about Trey and what Trey's not. I think this has a lot to do with a competitive situation where they know that if they release this asset, that it gives Seattle a chance, and it makes the Rams' chances of winning the Super Bowl better. And if those two things happen, the 49ers' chances of winning go down. So if you can get Jimmy at your price, why not do it?
Yeah, no, again, I get the why not. It's because a bunch of things have fallen in unfortunate ways. Unfortunate ways for Jimmy and his value. Unfortunate ways for, can you at least meet me here? Trey's not today what they hoped he would be.
I totally disagree with that.
Okay.
Mark,
okay.
He's completed a good percentage of his passes in the preseason. He's looked pretty good in camp.
All right, let's get Mike Holmgren in here. We'll get your calls. 888-957-9570. This breaking news on the roster. Two names that might surprise you. Jason Poe and JaMycal Hasty released today by the San Francisco 49ers. That's probably really good news for Trey Sermon.
Yeah.
And it's interesting news on the offensive line. I'd love to get your response to that here in a little bit. But Mike Holmgren joins us next. It's Willard and Dibs. Larry's in for Dibs 95.7 again.
It's unbelievable news for the 49ers. Jimmy G is staying in the Bay.
The Jimmy Garoppolo situation has come to a resolution, at least for now. Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers agreed to restructure a one-year contract that will keep Garoppolo in San Francisco this season. What the F is going on?
Keep it locked right here on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, Becky, what about this beat for your next song?
It's cool, but I'm into faster stuff lately. Like Xfinity that gives me beyond gig speeds.
Got it. What about this then?
It sounds powerful, just like Xfinity. Because its supersonic Wi-Fi has 3 times the bandwidth, you can connect hundreds of devices at once.
That's what I call power.
Unbeatable internet from Xfinity. Made to do anything so you can do anything.
Get the Xfinity Supersonic Bundle with unlimited gig speed internet, Wi-Fi equipment included, and a free 4K streaming box. All for $50 a month with a 2-year internet rate guarantee and no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to Xfinity.com/gig, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and autopay. New gigabit extra internet customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes wireless usage. After 24 months, regular rates apply. Requires compatible Xfinity gateway.
Everything, our farm, our stand, our pop-up shop, it really all started when we discovered the benefits of local, raw honey for our family.
And then we decided to turn it into a business.
We were looking for something to help us get up and running.
So we got the Chase Business Complete Banking Account.
It's more than a bank account. It comes with Quick Accept, which lets us take card payments anytime, anywhere in the U.S. using the Chase mobile app. Plus, we get same-day deposits at no extra cost. For us, it's more than honey. It's about sharing a little sweetness with the world.
Get the Chase Business Complete Banking Account with the essentials you need to help get your business going. Learn more at chase.com/business-complete-banking. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Quick Accept is not available in U.S. territories. Enrollment required. Usage subject to approval. Same-day deposits available for payments before 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday to Friday. Fees and rates apply for checking and processing. Limitations and restrictions apply. Participants compensated. Merchant services provided by Payment Tech LLC and WePay Inc. Subsidiaries of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
Breathe new life into life at home with IKEA Festival. 10 topics, one purpose. To get more out of the homes we love. What are you passionate about? Art, dance, music, food, fur babies. Get inspired, create, and share with us. With celebrations, giveaways, IKEA family offers, and live streams with expert advice. It's all happening at IKEA Festival. Join us from August 26th through September 10th online or at your local IKEA store. Learn more at IKEA-USA.com.
Okay,
You know those amazing spots only the true San Francisco locals are in on? Like that place with the square pizzas? Or Mama the spot for sweet and sour chicken that's anything but so-so. Order up! You know, with the Granch dressing. And all the other spots the real SF locals know without us even saying them. Yeah, they're on DoorDash. San Francisco gets it. DoorDash has it.
Tee it up at the Golf Mart for the next generation of drivers, where titanium ends and the carbon age begins. Introducing the new Stealth Carbon Wood driver from Taylormade, with 60 layers of carbon twist-based technology designed for better energy transfer and faster ball speeds. Come into the Golf Mart and get custom fit today. The Golf Mart is home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Some fans gear up for game day, but some fans follow their team every day. That's why the Locked On Podcast Network has a daily podcast for your favorite NFL team. Every trade, every overtime win, every game. Our local experts cover the biggest stories around your team every day. Search Locked On plus your favorite NFL team on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts. The Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come from the 2,000-year-old tradition of wok cooking. P.F. Chang's wanted to explore new possibilities for their website. They turned to AmericanEagle.com. AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital marketing, and hosting that produce efficiency, revenue, and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com. P.F. Chang's and AmericanEagle.com. Another example of the best businesses in the world, turning to the best in the business for websites. Go to AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. It's another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Meet Gagillionaire Terry. While his love of streaming horror movies has him constantly on the edge of his seat, his internet bill won't give him a scare.
Oh, don't go in there. I'm telling you.
Because since Terry upgraded to AT&T Fiber with hyper gig speeds, he doesn't worry about data caps or equipment fees.
Come on, man. The door's open for a reason.
And best yet, he also doesn't stress about a price increase at 12 months, because with the amazing Gagillionaire lifestyle comes an exquisite sense of tranquility. Most of the time. Live like a Gagillionaire. Get straightforward pricing with AT&T Fiber. Internet that upgrades everything. No data caps, no equipment fees, and no price increase at 12 months.
Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, kgmz-fm at HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
All right, the show in between the show, as I've always said, is always better. Is always better. If you think we're getting hot during the show, you should see what the commercial breaks are like. By the way, real quick, because I think Mike Holmgren is just about ready to go, and I cannot wait to talk to the coach. Jermichael Hasty, you good with that? Does it mean Trey Sermon is staying?
Yeah, it definitely means Trey Sermon is staying. And I'm not okay with that. But, you know, at this point, the Niners are stacked. They're stacked at running back, wide receiver, D-line. They're going to cut running backs, wide receivers, and D-linemen that are going to play in this league. Hasty, I think, is the smartest cut because I think he is the running back that's most likely to slip through the waivers.
Yeah, it's a little surprising the trades haven't come down because of how stacked they are to position.
There will be one today.
Right, yeah, I think there will be two. All right, let's get the former coach in here. And first and foremost, with Mark Willard, Larry Krueger, 95.7 The Game. Mike Holmgren joins us. And before we dive deep into two quarterbacks and one locker room, how you doing, Coach? I bet people would love to hear what you're up to.
I'm doing great, guys. Good to talk with you. No, I'm just I'm retired. I do a little radio stuff, so I've gone into your world just a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're up here in Seattle, and my grandkids are around, and I get to do a lot of stuff with them I hadn't done for a long time. So, no, life is good.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So what do you think about this? Like, there's a lot of different conversations about, how we got here. What does it say about Trey Lance's development that the 49ers would do this? In general, what are your thoughts about having two large presence guys on one team at the quarterback position?
Well, you guys know that when I was with the 49ers, we had Joe Montana and Steve Young, so you couldn't get any bigger than that.
Right.
But I think, the whole thing is, I think they wanted to go with Trey Lance. You draft someone in the first round, that's going to be you're telling your fans and you're telling everyone, he's going to be the guy. Now, it might take a season, maybe a little bit more in the season to get him ready, like Aaron Rodgers when he was following Favre in Green Bay. But you are making that statement. Now, the thing is, I think what jammed up the works on this thing was when Jimmy got hurt. And he had surgery, and so in the off season, people were a little wary, and they also realized the 49ers were in a tough spot because they said they were going to go with Trey Lance. So the trade idea, people just waited out, and now the people who really wanted him and waited it out, now the 49ers pull this one, and it's I think it's a good thing for the outcome of the football team. However, it is a little complicated because what happens when Trey Lance, let's say he starts out the season and he's not playing well, and then what do the fans do? What does the organization do? You run into those types of situations, and that's not good for your football team.
Coach, I'm so glad we're having you on today because I think you're, a perfect guy to talk to. I mean, you coach quarterbacks for years. Steve Young swore by you. Joe Montana the same. I think your credentials are well established. When you see Trey Lance, the player, and you see his throwing mechanics, you see everything about him. Give us your professional evaluation. I mean, I know he's considered to be raw. There's a lot to work on. What do you see when you see him?
Well, that's what I see. I see a young man who's physically very, very talented, but has a ways to go. When you look at, he has not played a lot of football in games, going back to his college days. So there is a learning curve when you come into the league. Now, physically, he'll get out of jams by running. Then you worry about him getting hurt and things like that. But, it's going to take some time for him to hit his stride, I think. But, they got a great coaching staff there. Kyle's as good a quarterback coach as there is. And so they'll get the most out of him. But it's going to be a little hit and miss in the beginning, I think. And then people have to be patient because they're going to get restless because the 49ers do have a good football team.
Coach, there are two huge questions I have about this, and I wonder what your perspective is. Let's start inside the locker room. And Joe and Steve was one very unique thing, and so is this, because it isn't just a good backup quarterback. It's the guy who's been the leader of this team for 5 years. So can you speak to how a locker room handles that? What is it like for the guys if they're not totally sure who their leader is?
You know what? It's interesting. I think most guys in the locker room, the players, they rally for the team. That's what their thought is, and that's what the coaches are going to be preaching. Now, if things don't go the way in the beginning, the way they want to, then the tough part is making the decision. Then you sit Trey down and then bring in Jimmy, if he can play physically, if he can play. And then what if that's not going so good or he's a little rusty or whatever? Then it becomes a very, very difficult season. And then you see a little bit more, perhaps, maybe not overtly, but you start picking sides. This is the way we should go, and all of a sudden the players now become smarter than the coach, which is never the case. You guys know that.
It's funny. 1988. I want to go back to 88 because I thought it was an incredible year, and I saw I'm not sure if it was in the Joe doc or if it was in the Walsh hour-long breakdown on his career, but you went to Bill and said, hey, look, we need to pick a quarterback here. And Bill said, okay. And he picked Joe Montana, and the rest is history. The team won in 88. They won in 89. Came one win away from a third trip in 90. Did you see a split locker room then, at least split allegiances among the players? And how can a coach avoid that scenario if possible?
No, you know what, to answer, no, I did not see a split in the locker room. What I did see was my career on the line if it didn't work. That was for sure. Mm-hmm. And Bill told me as much. Mike, this is okay. We're going to do this, but you know what happens if it doesn't work. So, fortunately, the guys came through and we finished strong. But I don't think it affected the locker room. I really don't. What it did was, and what could happen here, is that the players. Now you got two great Hall of Fame players, Joe Montana and Steve Young, but they, regardless of how good they are, they get a little off balance. All of a sudden they're not well, and then Bill, in games he'd substitute the other guy in, so they both played, and that was making them off balance and creating problems for the football team, I thought. And then, of course, we battled out of it and finished very, very strong. But that's the thing. If it's not a problem in the locker room, it's just with those guys. You're talking about two really tough mentally guys, in Montana and Young, but it affected them. And I thought it did, and I coached them, and so I told Bill that. But thank the Lord, it worked.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot. Mike Holmgren is with us here on 95.7 The Game. Coach, Jimmy Garoppolo said it at the end of the last year. He said it was a strange year. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but ... it worked. But now they've signed up for it again, and I guess that's my big question here, is that if you sign up for this again when it was clear that both sides wanted to do it a different way, I take that as at least some level of concern that Trey is not where they wanted him to be on this day. Do you think the 49ers would do this if they didn't have a little bit of concern about Trey?
Well, I think that's fair. I don't know for sure, but I think that's fair. I think more importantly that when they couldn't trade him and get which I assume the hope was not only to trade him, but to get a quarterback from the other team to come in and be maybe the veteran backup, like Geno Smith as an example in Seattle. But that didn't happen after the injury and all that kind of stuff. So the more it went down, I don't think they're going to change who's going to start and all that. But it's a unique situation. I believe they believe in Trey, but he's young, and so they got a good team, and if you want to, your goal is set for the Super Bowl, and it's not you're kind of struggling in the beginning because of this and that, and you have Jimmy Garoppolo sitting there, and then once you make that change, if you make the change, then all of a sudden the genie's out of the bottle a little bit. It's tough to go back the other way, and then now you have probably a little situation.
I also look at this as a situation where the 49ers knew that if they decided to waive Jimmy Garoppolo, he could wind up in Seattle, playing him twice a year. He could wind up as a backup to Stafford in L.A. and maybe dramatically improve the Rams' chances of winning the Super Bowl. But I wanted to hammer down.
That's very true I know it's true about Seattle.
And I just wanted to hammer down as far as what you think is an appropriate amount of time for a raw quarterback who was as inexperienced as Trey was at a North Dakota State, an FCS school, stepping into the NFL. What do you think? Should he be up to speed by now? Kyle's system's very complex. Should it be 2 years? Should it be 3 years? Joe didn't play until 81. He was drafted in 79. Rodgers sat for 3. What do you think's the perfect amount of time for a young, inexperienced quarterback coming out of FCS to sit before you could hand him the starting reins?
Well, I think it could be a little bit longer because of inexperience, but he also has the great athletic ability to get him out of trouble if he makes poor decisions. But I always felt, and I use Favre as the classic example, that if the player who is talented, and my own ego gets into this because I said, I'll help him be the best player he can be, and I'll do that. I'm going to do that. But and every coach thinks that way, I'm sure. And so, but with Favre, as an example, it took, and if you have the same coordinator, maybe in the same offense, because the unfortunate part is some of these guys have to bounce around a little bit with different coaches. But if you get the same, I always thought by year 3, 2 years, you're doing crazy stuff. Maybe he's playing, but you're losing games. You might win. You win. But he's playing, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel. But then by year 3, if you haven't fixed a lot of the errors and a lot of the misunderstandings, then he's probably not the guy. So I thought 2 years of playing, and then you should have what you want in year 3. And then everyone that was my timetable.
Mike Holmgren with us. Coach, awesome to have your perspective at this time. Real quick, by the way, just because you sort of mentioned it being in Seattle, Larry mentioned that the 49ers might be worried that he'd end up in Seattle, and you said you knew that was true. What about it on the other end? Do you think Seattle had interest in Jimmy Garoppolo on some form?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do. I think, there have been a lot of changes, and as soon as Russell Wilson left, then they were trying to figure out how they're going to do this, and Baker Mayfield's name came up, different names came up, but once Mayfield left and went to Carolina, then who's available? I can remember sitting at my desk when we were trying to find the quarterback in Seattle. We eventually got Hasselbeck, but creating lists. Draft choices was one, trades were another one, free agents were another one. So, and the list gets narrow for a starting quarterback, and Jimmy was in that. I think, people they're hard on him. There have been hard on him as far from an outsider looking in, but he's a good player. And I know the Seahawks would have been interested.
Great stuff. Hey, Coach, it's great to hear your voice. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, guy, my pleasure. Take care of you now.
Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, you too. Mike Holmgren here, Willard and Larry on 95.7 The Game. That was interesting.
That was
really interesting.
There were several things that he said there that I thought were revealing.
Okay, what stood out?
Well, the last one, that Seattle was most definitely interested. This is a guy who lives up there and has ties to John Schneider and Pete Carroll, knows them both personally. I'm sure he knows probably the inner workings of their thought process. So, and then also just the fact that he kind of views it as 2 years of playing, and then that third year, if you're not doing it in that third year, you probably don't have the right guy. So we're not quite there with Trey yet. He hasn't played it even a full year, let alone 2 full years. So we're a little premature to make evaluations on Trey. I thought that was interesting. And just, the fact that the locker room wasn't split, we're talking about, hey, this could potentially split the locker room. And he said, hey, most definitely the Joe and Steve thing and having Bill Walsh state the starter is Joe was not about the rest of the guys in the room. It was really about the individuals themselves. I thought that was interesting.
Right, but he also said, and this is why this sort of pops in my head as a potential problem. The reason it pops in my, because he said this as well. It depends on how the season goes. You're right. It might not be a problem, but it might. It also might, depending on what the 49er record is. And this is why I do believe that this is on some level an admission by the 49ers that Trey is not on August 30th what they at least hoped he would be. I'm not going to say what they thought he would be, what they hoped he would be, because perfect scenario is not to bring back your big-named, high-priced former leader who's been to 2 NFC title games in the last 3 years as a backup to your high-priced, high-leveraged, first-round, number 3 overall draft pick. That's definitely not option 1. Can we agree on that? That's not what they set out to do this offseason.
I would agree if it was based on Trey, but you're looking at it based on Trey. I'm looking at it based on Jimmy was going to be out there for somebody, and if you could get him at $6 million, man, that's the slam dunk. The question was, I don't think you could get yet going into yesterday, Mark. I didn't think that was a possibility. I didn't think that Jimmy or Don Yee would agree to reduce his salary by $18 million and allow him to be a very cost-effective backup. But they
didn't have a better option. Don Yee's a great agent.
But I'm saying
He's really smart.
I don't want Jimmy as the backup to Stafford. I'm not really worried about Seattle as much, but I don't want him as the backup to Stafford because I think that gives the Rams, who have John Wofford right now as the backup, a much better chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Listen,
and I don't like that.
If I got a list of pros and cons, I'm not sitting here telling you the pro list is empty. I'm not saying that at all. I just think the con list has bigger bodied words in this particular thing. And so when Mike Holmgren says, like a locker room can be fine, and after 4 weeks the Niners are 3-1, the locker room will be fine. But if they're 1-3, it won't, and that's out of your hands. That's why this to me screams that Trey is at least not where they hoped he'd be, because now they're throwing a feather in the wind a little bit and going, there are a few scenarios that if it plays that way, we got a real problem on our hands, because the locker room can split and they can start to have opinions. You heard him say this is when players start to think that they're smarter than the coach. We need to switch to Jimmy. Oh, we're not ready to switch, but that's a problem. So, it's not about can Trey mentally handle it, because we know that he can, and so can Jimmy. Hell, Jimmy doesn't say anything about anything. They can handle it, but it doesn't mean that that's what you should sign up for. It's not a perfect scenario. So the road they're about to travel could work, but it's filled with potholes, and they might hit one, and they might hit two. And that's why normally, if you are just sitting there going, I can't wait for people to see Trey, we're about to unleash this guy on the league. If that's how you were feeling, you wouldn't do this.
I just look at Trey as that brand new Ferrari, and it's like, if you're going to buy a brand new Ferrari, if you could get insurance, would you take it? Yeah, I think I'd like to have some insurance. And this is what Jimmy is. He's essentially an insurance against Trey. I know it's easy to read it as they're disappointed in Trey, and you might be right. I'm not saying that you're not right. I'm just saying that from what I've seen, Trey looks damn good. And I think Trey, if Trey were allowed to just play, and I think he's going to be allowed to just play, I think he's going to beat out Jimmy. I really do. I think he's.
Well, I think he's well.
I think he's better than Jimmy. I think he's got better talent than Jimmy. I think he's got fewer weaknesses in his game than Jimmy. I think there's more upside potential with Trey, which is why they arrived on Trey, because Trey, I think, has that high end potential, but he's not quite there yet, and nor should he be. And then once Garoppolo was out there, and it's like, wait a second, Don Yee will take $6 million. He'll take $6 million to come here and to be the backup, less money. Then it's like, wait a second, this is a slam dunk. We can have an experienced backup quarterback behind our super raw but talented rookie, essentially a rookie, and keep him from being with the Rams or the Saints or the Seahawks or anybody that could potentially stand between us in the Super Bowl. I love the opportunity for both quarterbacks, because I think depth means a lot in a sport as violent as pro football.
What's fascinating to me in this is that you seem to be saying, hey, it's too early to really assess Trey. It's okay if he's not perfect yet. Young player, hasn't played a lot, all of that.
He's had 2 starts.
Don't you think this ups the speed and pressure on him? I totally do. Like this,
I agree.
This shortens the window of Trey, you're allowed to go out there and struggle. We've spent all off season mentally preparing ourselves for, look, he's not going to be perfect, right? It's like there's going to be bumps and bruises. There's going to be maybe bad games. There's definitely going to be bad throws, bad moments. Well, now you can't do that as much, because the second that starts to happen, not only do the fans, the media, the players themselves start going, come on, man, let's go. Jimmy, get him back in here and let's solidify this thing. It ain't perfect, but at least we know what it is and it's good enough.
Okay, but let me comment. I agree.
That's fair, right?
I think it is fair.
Okay.
But I also, you got to remember this. It's not necessarily going to be a straight line. There could be a game this year where Trey throws a couple early picks or a couple passes get tipped up in the air and they're picks. In the scenario before yesterday, you're going to Sudfeld, you're losing that game, and the fan base the pressure is mounting. In this situation, you could essentially take your 22-year-old quarterback off the field. Hey, it's not your day, kid. Pack it in. Here comes Garoppolo. You win that game.
That's complicated.
You win that game, and suddenly now, maybe it's the whole burden of the franchise is not on this kid's development. He can develop at his own pace without the wins and losses being totally attached only to him, because now there's Garoppolo there, and you can help. And
that's
Mark,
precisely what
but you
does
can have a rough day at the office and still be a great quarterback.
That's precisely what does put the weight of the world on his shoulders, because the scenario you just painted is a full-blown QB controversy.
But you're winning in my scenario. You're potentially winning the game. In the other scenario, you're losing the game. And here's Sudfeld, and now it's like, Trey, get it right. What if he
sink or swim, man? You're the number 3 overall.
He's
pick.
22. He's made 2 starts.
Blair.
Hey, 4 starts into Kaepernick's career. Everybody thought he was the second. He was going to be Russell Wilson.
And did they keep Alex Smith because they wanted to hedge?
He wasn't that player,
right? But you got to go.
Takes time.
But you got to go with your decisions. Your decision was made when you made this trade. This is your guy,
and you're still going with him.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Well, I mean, you
just painted a picture of he's struggling at halftime. So let's just bring
Mark, I'm saying
Jimmy in to win the game, and then what? The next week,
he's a terrific young prospect, but he's a prospect. Mark,
I mean,
he's 22 years old. He's made 2 starts. He played at the FCS level.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily. I personally think Trey is definitely going to get there as far as being a really, really good NFL quarterback. Why? Because he's got all the skill set, and he's wired right, and he loves the process. He'll do it.
I don't disagree,
but it may not be. This year.
Well, that's a problem. I just think that's a problem. It's
You're going to have to show a little patience
in year 2. But this isn't about patience.
Yeah, it is.
I just know, because the scenario you just painted. I just think this is an oversimplification. Big time.
A great coach told us 3 years of 2 years of playing. He's had 2 starts.
And this great coach also told you that the locker room can split in a heartbeat. Like the scenario you just painted, you made it sound like the post-game press conference after that, everyone is just giving Kyle a beer going, that was an awesome win. As opposed to what would actually be happening, which is, Coach, who's your QB next week?
They didn't ask that question last year?
They did, and the team made
it to the NFC Championship.
And the team was 3-5 and not in a good spot, and they barely made it because things fell a certain way with a veteran.
That's putting too much on the quarterback.
You're signing up for controversy. You're signing up for controversy. I just want you to know that.
I was at these games last year. I remember Colt McCoy completing 85%. I don't think that's on Trey or Jimmy.
Larry, I'm just telling you. I hope you're signing up for a QB controversy. The scenarios you're painting to me right now are all leading to the same place, which is a QB controversy, and I don't want that for the 49ers. They don't want that. Nobody wants it. It's not good. You don't want a QB controversy. Last year worked out because they finally decided we're going with one guy, we're going to take the warts with us, and we're going to handle it, and we're good enough to handle it, and they were. But you don't want to be going back and forth.
What you don't want to be doing, I'll tell you what you don't want to be doing. You don't want to draft a super young, raw quarterback with tons of upside, and because he starts off rough and your fan base is impatient, you either trade him or bury him or decide he's bad. Peyton Manning was terrible his rookie year. He threw 28 interceptions.
Totally different, terrible team. Totally different.
No, I know. Exactly. It was a terrible team. This is not a terrible team, so you don't run that same. You don't just run a guy out there and lose. You try to win games. You try to develop him as you win, so you can get to that postseason. I think Trey's going to develop nicely. I think this move with Jimmy. I think Jimmy there is going to help him develop. I don't think it's going to hurt his development.
All right, it's all sponsored by Cars for Kids. A bunch you want to weigh in, and we're going straight to you next. So, stay right where you are at 888-957-9570. Keep your comments coming, too. Comcast Business Text Line, YouTube, Twitch, we see you commenting on some of those. Thank you so much for watching. We really, really appreciate it. Also, John Mulaney, comedian John Mulaney, Concord Pavilion, September 17th. Your chance to win is coming up next, courtesy of Live Nation. Stay tuned for the sounder. Do we have the sounder? This is what the sounder sounds like. The sounder is going to sound like this. This is not the time, but the next time you hear the sounder, you're going to want to call in and we'll there you go. So the next time you hear that, we'll give you the contest line. You can call in and win John Mulaney tickets. So that's coming up next as well. It's Mark Willard, Larry Krueger, 95.7 The Game.
I'm Michael Jenkins, helping you beat the books with BetQL. The Padres continue their search for a wild card spot as they face the Giants, but it won't be an easy task for San Diego. Logan Webb is starting for San Francisco, and in 2 starts this season against the Padres, he's given up just 2 earned runs combined while giving up just 10 hits in 16 innings. The Giants would love to make things tough on their NL West rivals, and BetQL thinks they will. The 5-star play of the day is the Giants over the Padres on the money line.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and master 5th grade math.
I can't do this. It's impossible.
Not you, Dad, your daughter. Staples will help her move forward.
Right.
Right now, Staples comp books and number 2 pencils are just 50 cents each. Plus, 2 pocket paper folders are only 25 cents each. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 9/3. In-store only, limit 30.
The Prophet, Peter King, who's been saying for months to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, joins Damon and Ratto today at 3:30.
If you lose your starting quarterback, in most cases your season is over. And the 49ers don't want that to be the case. I think it would be a huge mistake, even if Garoppolo goes to the bench. I'm not trading Garoppolo.
The best 49ers coverage is right here on 95.7 The Game.
Looking for a fulfilling career with opportunities for job growth? Is paid training, excellent medical and dental benefits, and a pension important to you? Then apply to become a VTA bus operator, providing VTA customers with a great transit experience. Visit VTA.org/point-A and apply.
Why do we find popping bubble wrap so satisfying? Why do we say boop when we touch somebody's nose? Boop? Why do we turn anything and everything into drums?
Honey, I need those pots to start dinner.
Why do we sing in the shower?
I'm taking a shower.
And outside the shower.
This conference call is boring.
Rick, you are not on mute.
Why? For the same reason we play scratchers from the California Lottery. Because a little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Every search you make, every click you take, they'll be watching you.
Tired of companies like Google and Facebook watching everything you do online? There's actually a simple solution. DuckDuckGo.
It's an all-in-one privacy app with a built-in private search engine, web browser, one-click data clearing, email protection, and more. All for free. Download the app today and get the most comprehensive privacy protection with a push of a button. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
If you owe back taxes to the IRS, have unfiled returns, or are worried about an audit, the IRS is hiring 87,000 new agents to address these very issues. That means if you need to get your tax problems resolved, now is the time to get started. I'm tax attorney Robert Goldstein, and my firm specializes in helping individuals and small businesses resolve their tax problems. We work to stop IRS and state seizures. We may be able to settle your tax debt for pennies on the dollar with an offer in compromise. We prepare your past due returns, even if you have no records, and represent you before the IRS and state in an audit. At the law offices of Robert Goldstein, the consultation is always free, and we have offices located throughout the Bay Area. To schedule your free consultation, call 1-888-TAX-EXIT. That's 888-TAXEXIT. 888-TAX-EXIT. And make us your last stop.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
With just one pill, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn all day and night. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
We all know someone who's all work and no chill. Trust me, that used to be me. But then I found Galaxy Z Fold 4, which allows me to do more things at once. Much better. Now I can take video calls from my phone and use it to take notes at the same time.
Wait, are you at the spa?
Or check my shopping list while ordering more scented candles and face masks on the foldable, expansive screen. Don't take your to-do list one line at a time. Multitask so you can relax.
Get the new Galaxy Z Fold 4 at Samsung.com today.
Everyone knows how beneficial therapy can be,
But traditional therapy can be overwhelming, confusing, and inconvenient. When scheduling in-person therapy, it can be difficult to find the right therapist near you, and it can take weeks to get on their calendar. We knew there had to be a better way, and that's where BetterHelp began. I'm Danny, co-founder of BetterHelp Online Therapy. When Alana and I started BetterHelp in 2013, our mission was simple: find a way to make professional therapy accessible, affordable, and convenient for everyone. BetterHelp works around your schedule and lifestyle. You can connect to a therapist by phone, video call, or even text message. You don't even have to turn on your camera if you don't feel comfortable. And if your therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch anytime with a click of a button, because BetterHelp is designed with you in mind. See why over 2 million members have trusted BetterHelp for online therapy. Go to betterhelp.com/youfirst and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/youfirst for 10% off your first month.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
So I used the savings from switching to Progressive 30 years ago to buy tickets to the championship game. You know, between those two teams that didn't exist 30 years ago. Yeah, I'm a big Alaska Palm Trees fan. Which is a team now? In the future?
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
O'Reilly.
Stay cool this summer with AC Pro and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get a $15 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after mail-in rebate with the purchase of select AC Pro ready-to-use refrigerant products that include a hose and gauge. Beat the heat before you hit the road with AC Pro at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You can't get much for $5 these days, unless you go to Wendy's for a $5 Biggie Bag. Get your choice of double stack, junior bacon cheeseburger, or crispy chicken BLT, plus 4-piece nugs, fries, and a drink, all for just $5.
You got that bag. You got that Biggie Bag. You got that bag.
That was smooth, wasn't it? That's how you're gonna feel when you get that Biggie Bag at Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes 4-piece nuggets, small soft drink, and small fry. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
With just one pill, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn all day and night. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
And congrats again to Dibs. If you're just joining us, Mila Dibley, 5 pounds, 5 ounces yesterday morning. She is here. In fact, she was here before Jimmy Garoppolo was.
How about that?
Jimmy waited till the afternoon to rejoin the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, we're going to get to the phones here in just a second. Larry Krueger in for Dibs, all sponsored by Valley Transportation Authority. I mean, I get that no one's going to spend any time being concerned about this because he's been the quarterback of the team for the last 5 years. But just to further what I'm saying, that this was kind of a yank the parachute open move by the 49ers yesterday. I mean, they didn't even give him a playbook. They didn't even bring him to Minnesota. They wouldn't let him come on the practice field. If there was any inkling, in my mind, if there was any inkling over the last 3 weeks that this was the way it was going to go, I think, you at least say to Jimmy, hey, this is a scenario. Here's a book. I mean,
that's a non-factor.
I don't think it's a non-factor. Like,
he's been on the team for 4 years. He knows the playbook.
He's a new quarterback coach. I know he knows the playbook. But
it's Kyle's system. He knows Kyle's system.
It's not a concern. It's interesting. I don't think they thought it was going to go this way. So
you're right. We're in agreement on that.
So therefore, I want people to stop going, wow, this was genius. No, this was not what they were trying to do.
This was not the master plan.
This was not what they were trying to do.
This was not the original plan, but it's the best pivot because it keeps him from playing with the Rams and keeps him from playing with the Seahawks, and it keeps him now on your team. And now you have insurance for your young raw quarterback, and you have an asset that if your young raw quarterback is as good as I think he is, and as I think they still think he is, then you have an asset that at the NFL trade deadline, which is, I think, week 5 or 6 or 7, whatever it is, that you're going to be able to trade now. You're going to be able to get something for Jimmy Garoppolo if you want. If
he's okay with it, by the way.
Right, he has to be okay with it.
No trade clause. He's got to waive that.
Right.
So,
but if he's sitting because Trey's playing great, he probably is going to be okay with that.
That's option one. And yes, there are some things that could go really well with this. And there are some things that could go really, really wrong with this.
I do think that this locker room, and first of all, the center question or the focus has to be, how does Jimmy and Trey, how would they get along? And they get along great. So I think that right there is like first question. And then it's a matter of the locker room. And it does get a little complicated because let's be totally honest about this. The one thing that you cannot get away from is this is going to be the pivot point for every presser, every post-game presser, every fan, every time we open up the lines, every time the Niners lose with quarterback A, people are going to be asking about quarterback B. It doesn't really matter about which quarterback it really is. You got 2 quarterbacks, and you're going to lose some games. Whoever loses those games is going to be, we're going to take calls saying the other guy should play.
Oh, so it's great for us.
Yeah, it's
great for. But I'm not in this for. I mean, yes, I'm in our lives for us. But I want the 49ers to be good. I'm not looking at this through the lens of sweet random drama that we're going to get to talk about every week. But that's the reality.
Here's the other one.
Okay. There's the sounder real quick. 2 tickets to see John Mulaney, September 17th, Concord Pavilion. Caller 5 right now. Contest line. Don't call the regular line. It's totally full, and we're coming to you in a second. Contest line is 415-951-2386. 415-951-2386. One more time, 415-951-2386. Caller 5 is our winner, brought to you courtesy of Live Nation. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that we kind of assume that, let's say Jimmy's, Trey's a starter, Jimmy's the backup, that Jimmy will only play if Trey struggles. But that's not necessarily the case. Trey could come out, play phenomenal for a month, and then have some injury that's going to cost him 5 weeks. And then suddenly Jimmy comes in and plays. Now, I like their chances of winning those games without Trey, let's say, with Jimmy, better than if you went with Purdy or Sudfeld. So I think the 49ers gave themselves a shot in the arm where they're going to be able to probably, in most scenarios, qualify for the playoffs. And then, you know what? I've looked at the NFC teams. I'll take my chances with either quarterback, with Kyle Shanahan, the weapons they have, the defense that they have in the playoff tournament, regardless of if it's Trey or Jimmy. So if the whole goal is to try to win a ring, you can't win a ring if you don't make the playoffs. You can't make the playoffs if you have a quarterback, if you're leaning on Nate Sudfeld. Nothing against Nate Sudfeld. I want crap on him. But I really believe they couldn't win with Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah,
so I kind of like this scenario, even in that scenario where Trey plays well, Jimmy comes in, you make the playoffs, and then, we'll see where it goes. But it complicates things, but it also makes the 49ers a better bet, I think, for the Super Bowl.
That scenario you're painting, who wouldn't agree with that? Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be better than any other backup. But one thing's clear in all the conversations you and I have had about this, you think it's much more about, I don't even think the names Sudfeld and Purdy pop into my mind when you do this. Because...
Why not?
Because who cares about your backup quarterback?
Kyle Shanahan, because he's sub 500 despite being one of the best coaches in pro football.
So you could say it that way. I think you don't care about your backup quarterback at the start of the year unless you're worried about your starter. Tampa doesn't care about the backup. Green Bay doesn't care about the backup. Kansas City, Chargers, Bills, Bengals, Ravens, they don't care about their backup. And
that's because their starters are all established and your starter's not.
Right, but...
Doesn't mean he's not good. Just means he's not established
You were hoping he would do that this year, and there's no doubt in my mind that this does prevent a roadblock to him establishing himself, because this is going to give him less time to make mistakes. That's the big thing here for me. And I know, let's hear from some people on this. Yeah, Mark Willard, Larry Krueger here with you, 95.7 The Game. Let's go. Dan in the Bay Area. Hey, Dan, what's cooking? What are you doing?
Hey, guys. Hey, Larry.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, your partner. Hey, Mark, Larry, I think this whole thing is about the cap, okay? This is about money. The reason other teams don't care about their backup that are top teams is because they got $40 million quarterbacks, and they've got to carry a guy that is insignificant. This is all about leverage. This is a game of Monopoly that was being played. Jimmy was a great asset. You don't want to just give him up and give him to Seattle or the Rams or anybody else. But
we lost Dan a little bit there. So here's one thing I'll say about that. Jimmy is a great asset. You don't just want to give him up. True, depending on one lens. The other lens is they've been dying to give him up for 8 months. They've been trying. They tried every single team. They called them all. And that was the goal, and the shoulder surgery timing is definitely a question I have, and that's a story that'll never get told, by the way, in terms of the way Jimmy and his people handled that. If anybody botched this, you could make the case that it was him in terms of the timing of the shoulder, the way that all got out. So, I guess my point is that we're going to sit here and congratulate the 49ers for having the best backup in the quarterback room in football, and I'm sitting here going, they just spent 9 months trying to not. So I have a really hard time going, great job.
And by the way, Danny's like, he's on my YouTube show.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. So,
well, keep your takes to Larry's show. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but I think what his point was just simply that, yeah, because if you have a Aaron Rodgers, he's making 20 or 30 million, and you're not going to have a expensive backup.
Right. So what's Justin Herbert making again? Go ahead.
I don't know, but
not very much.
And who's his backup? Last year was Tyrod Taylor, wasn't it?
And not this year, because no one cares about the backup.
Because now he's established.
And
if Trey were established, I don't think they would have Jimmy here.
I'm sorry, last year, was he established at the start of the year? In year 2.
Yeah, but he also played a full year in the Pac-12, full career in the Pac-12.
But Larry, the 49ers have got to wear that. You picked that guy. There were other guys who played college football.
I'm not saying, but they kind of knew when they took him that they knew that when they took him that he was a raw quarterback. I mean, Jed York talks to Kyle Shanahan. Jed York said, "Hey, you know what? We could keep Jimmy on the roster for 2 full years."
Right, but
now they're going to have him on the roster for 2 full years.
But Jimmy also held a press conference and went, "See ya." So here's my point. You're all acting like Trey Lance was supposed to get 3 years to develop. If that was the case, this wouldn't have been definitive in January when the season ended that Jimmy was leaving. You would have been like, well, we'll see, because he's under a contract for another year, and we're really not sure if Trey's going to be ready to play. But this has been definitive from the final snap.
Yeah, but
here's definitive that we're moving to Trey, and then they got here, and they're like, nah.
So I don't think you wanted Jimmy in January because you don't want to block Trey's path. But now that you've gone into camp and you've seen Trey and you've seen how he's gone through good days and bad days with his accuracy.
Thank you.
And you see that there's more development there.
They weren't hoping for that.
They still like where he's at, but I think they just wanted an insurance policy that they could afford, and one happened to be sitting there.
And that's fine. But here's where I will say, there's zero doubt, and you will never talk me off of this point. They definitely hoped he'd be farther along today than he is. Like, period. There's no question. When they went into the end of last year, the way they played that, you can never convince me that they didn't at least hope that on August 30th, this would be further along than it is.
I have no idea. I couldn't comment on that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they hope.
Let's go to Polo in the Bay Area. Hey, Polo, you're on with Mark and Larry. What's going on? Yeah, what are you doing?
Not much. Just getting something to eat real quick.
Nice.
Don't know just what. But, well, here's what I got with this Trey thing. Trey has very little room for error. Any type of error, he's coming out the game. And this is not a business move. This is a 53-man roster move. The best 53-man on the team is going to play. And what I'm saying with that is Trey can go 4-0 or 3-1, and the team still be his. If he goes 0-4 or 1-3, man, that job is gone, and that's going to Jimmy. And Trey needs to figure out how to close all these critics, these Jimmy G's fans up. If he can't do that, then it's all Jimmy's, and be Super Bowl team ready with Jimmy.
And we're talking about this year.
Thanks, Paul.
I think I think the Niners feel like, and I've talked to enough people in the organization to have a good sense of this, they feel like they've got the right guy in Trey Lance. Now, is he ready today? I think it's fair to say, Mark, that what they'd hoped he would be is not where he's at right now. I think that's totally fair. I don't have any proof of that, but I think it's fair. But I do think that they feel like they've got the right guy and that he's going to get there eventually, but it's not necessarily going to be this year. And they're done wasting years waiting on quarterbacks and leaning on second quarterbacks. So they just want to make sure they're stacked at quarterback. It'll be interesting today to me to see if they keep Brock Purdy, because I think Brock Purdy can play, and I would keep all three quarterbacks. And I think if they're really consistent with their thinking of the quarterback means everything, they may keep three quarterbacks.
I think
looking forward to that.
I think Purdy is either on the roster or they at least try to squeeze him into the practice squad. I don't know if he'd make it.
I don't know that he will.
I don't know that he'd make it. But I think Sudfeld is gone. That definitely my read on yesterday. Even though I know he got some guaranteed dollars. I think
$2 million guaranteed.
Yeah, I think Sudfeld's definitely gone. I mean, hell, they just saved.
Purdy outplayed Sudfeld in the preseason.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Some
people have argued. I heard Bonte arguing that this is not an indictment on Trey. This is an indictment on Purdy and Sudfeld. I don't know that it's an indictment. I don't know.
I mean, this is Jimmy.
I don't think it's an indictment on any of these guys, really. I just think it's them saying, hey, we want as good a quarterback room as we possibly can have, and we don't want this guy playing with the Rams or the Seahawks.
I mean, you got to agree.
Let's be honest. If what would dial up the heat on Lynch is if he goes to L.A. or Seattle and they beat the Niners.
No, that's bad. I mean, that's what we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. You have to agree, though. What Polo said, there is something there. Like in a perfect world, Trey doesn't make mistakes and have Jimmy's weight on his shoulders in 2 seconds. That's not perfect. Like, he does have less room for error today than he did yesterday.
Yeah.
You agree, right? Yeah. So that's part of this. Let's go to Jones in Atlanta. Hey, Jones, you're on 95.7 The Game. What are you doing?
What's up? I'm sitting here listening to and watching all this so-called controversy that we got going on. I'm going to say something to this, you know what I'm saying? Because we did this last year, right? So, and I know everybody was like, well, if Trey was such, why not just let Jimmy and Trey kind of battle it out in training camp, right? You know why? Because they didn't want Jimmy to win the job. If you put them both on the field, that's what training camp was supposed to be for, right? Let them play it out. Best man win. Who cares if you done wasted the 3 first-round picks now? We can't get them back, right? So it's supposed to be best man wins at all times. I like what the Philadelphia Eagles did, right? They had just paid Carson Wentz all that money and still drafted Jalen Hurts. Jalen came in and took that man's job. I'm going to see you later, Carson Wentz. Holla at you. You ain't worth it, right? But since we invested all this capital, which we didn't have to do, you know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, we got to get the kid into play. But the kid ain't ready. He wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? He ain't been ready. It doesn't take long. I've called him before and said this. When Russell Wilson was with Seattle and he came in after they paid Buddy $50 million, it didn't take long. He got to go. We could have did the simple thing, let him battle out in training camp. If Jimmy loses, send him on about his way. Cut him. But like you said, I like having a Ferrari and still having my little old Tahoe to drive around just in case the Ferrari messes up.
Exactly. Well, but the NFL, the traditional thought, Johns, is a great call. Thank you very much. But the traditional thought, because we keep saying, okay, I've got a Ferrari, don't I want insurance? The traditional NFL thought, John Madden, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you got none, is that you don't have a Ferrari with insurance. What you have is potentially 2 Buicks. And that's the problem. That's the problem, because you already know. Like, how would you describe Jimmy? Go ahead, put a car on him. Who's Jimmy?
Jimmy, a car on Jimmy. He's like a. I used to give Gary crap.
Camry? Like, no, what is it? What?
Gary used to drive the Bentley.
I drive a Kia Sorento.
Jimmy's a Chrysler 3000.
Chrysler 3000.
He looks like a Bentley, but he ain't.
Okay.
He's a Chrysler 3000.
But in 2 sides of your mouth, you're saying Trey's a Ferrari, yet Trey's not ready.
No, I'm saying they're hoping he's a Ferrari.
You're hoping.
Yeah. And also, I just think that you have to give Trey a reasonable amount of time.
I think this is.
And
I think this is.
You think 1 year of sitting, just because Mahomes did it, Trey should be able to do it?
First of all, it's a year longer than just about any third overall pick is ever going to get again. So that's number one. But number two, I'm not saying he gets a year to be great. I'm saying he gets...
His last year in college was one game.
Right. You have 18 months to totally make me buy in. Not, you got to be perfect today, but I got to see it. 18 months, show me that I definitely made the right call. And to me, yesterday says, I'm still not totally sure.
Well, it's funny that you said that, Mark,
that's a concern.
But Trent Williams, who's obviously at more practices than you or I, has already said, just watching Trey on the practice field, you can see that he's the guy.
What teammates say? What is it? I mean, Trent Williams last week did an entire article about Jason Poe and how awesome he is, and they just cut him.
I know.
I mean, players are going to say good things about their teammates. That's having a guy's back.
So don't listen to players.
No, well, kind of. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
players can't be trusted.
Well, I mean, if you're going to ask, hey, so what do you think of your teammate? Boy, he sucks. I mean, like, what are they going to say?
Yeah, no, I hear you. But he volunteered this stuff. I mean, I'm just saying, as somebody who's went to minicamp and spent all the time on the road driving back and forth, I feel like I know a little something about what I'm watching, and I feel like I'm watching a pretty good young quarterback, but he's raw, and it's going to take some time. But I think he's going to get there, but I don't know if it's going to be this year. And they do have a Super Bowl roster this year, and if I'm Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, I don't know that they get any more kind of redshirt years where, you know what, our whole thing was derailed because of injury. I don't know that Jed's going to want to hear that anymore. So I believe in stacking your quarterback room. I'm glad they did it.
Got a lot of cars that just came in. Lots of cars. Jimmy's a Hyundai Sonata. Let's see. We get
Chrysler 3000 is what he really is.
Jimmy's a Jaguar. Jimmy's a Mini Cooper.
He's the Chrysler 3000 because it looks like a Bentley, but it actually is a Chrysler.
Jimmy's a Hoopty. Jimmy's the first car your friend had in high school. I remember that thing. It had a big old engine that smelled. Okay. 888-957-9570 is the number. We will absolutely keep going with all of you. It's all sponsored by Kirby. And we'd love to keep hearing from you, not only at 888-957-9570. Keep it coming on the Comcast Business text line. And you guys are doing a great job on Twitch and YouTube. We appreciate you being there. You should absolutely be there every day, mainly because Larry is a very handsome man, okay?
Thank you.
We're going to keep going. And by the way, it's not just your calls and this discussion, but we are exactly now 2 hours and 5 minutes from the official deadline to get down to the 53-man roster. And we got a lot more questions to go. Like, yes, JaMychal Hasty has been cut. Does that mean Trey Sermon is in? Does it mean Jordan Mason is in? Does it mean both are in?
Is Brock Purdy been cut yet?
Brock Purdy, to my knowledge, is still a member of the 49ers. But so is Nate Sudfeld.
There you go.
And that's not going to stay that way.
I'll be very happy if Brock makes it.
All of that is coming, and we'll be right here with you to hold your hand through it, so don't go anywhere. With Larry Krueger in for Dibs, Mark Willard, 95.7 The Game.
It's unbelievable news for the 49ers.
He is one of their 53 best players. You leave camp with your 53 best. That's how you do it in a functional, right-run, proper franchise. That's the way it goes. Any personal feelings do not matter. What's best for the team?
Jimmy G is staying in the Bay.
Feels great, baby.
We want your reaction on 95.7 The Game.
Kirby is your driveway mechanic. They bring the shop to you with brake and tire replacements, oil changes, and so much more. Get $50 off your first oil change with code OIL50 at Kirby.com. That's CURBEE.com and use code OIL50.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift
gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code GOLF. Use code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Sides and totals are obviously awesome, but how can you not love betting on props?
Nick Costos, co-host of You Better You Bet, 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern on the BetQL network.
I love it because it's like playing fantasy sports, except you're betting on the game. Which player is going to have a lot of success in the game? I think prop bets are absolutely tremendous and a different way of thinking about handicapping and betting on a sporting event.
All the insight you need to bet smarter is at BetQL.com. And listen to You Better You Bet with Nick Costos and Ken Barkley, streaming weekdays from 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern on Odyssey.
Parents, are you tired of helping put your kids' shoes on? They're squirming, watching cartoons, anything but helping. Luckily, it's Skechers to the rescue. Introducing new hands-free Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you can just get your kids to step into and their shoes are on. You don't need to bend over. You don't need to sit on the floor and try to wrangle them on. And they're available in all types of Skechers styles with and without laces, and most are machine washable. Find Skechers Slip-ins for kids or mom and dad at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish shoes are sold.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's.
Reese's.
Reese's. Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
The 36th annual Grip Harmony Walk is back October 22nd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Nichols Park in Richmond. Register to walk at gripcares.org and help raise money to end homelessness and hunger.
Everything, our farm, our stand, our pop-up shop, it really all started when we discovered the benefits of local, raw honey for our family.
And then we decided to turn it into a business.
We were looking for something to help us get up and running.
So we got the Chase Business Complete Banking Account.
It's more than a bank account. It comes with Quick Accept, which lets us take card payments anytime, anywhere in the U.S. using the Chase mobile app. Plus, we get same-day deposits at no extra cost. For us, it's more than honey. It's about sharing a little sweetness with the world.
Get the Chase Business Complete Banking Account with the essentials you need to help get your business going. Learn more at chase.com/business-complete-banking. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Quick Accept is not available in U.S. territories. Enrollment required. Usage subject to approval. Same-day deposits available for payments before 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday to Friday. Fees and rates apply for checking and processing. Limitations and restrictions apply. Participants compensated. Merchant services provided by Payment Tech LLC and WePay Inc. Subsidiaries of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
Breathe new life into life at home with IKEA Festival. 10 topics, one purpose. To get more out of the homes we love. What are you passionate about? Art, dance, music, food, fur babies. Get inspired, create, and share with us. With celebrations, giveaways, IKEA family offers, and live streams with expert advice. It's all happening at IKEA Festival. Join us from August 26th through September 10th online or at your local IKEA store. Learn more at IKEA-USA.com.
If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride. From pandemic to inflation, I'm sure you could use a break. If your business has 5 or more employees and survived COVID, you may be eligible to receive a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. The challenge is getting your hands on it. Hi, I'm Howard Mackler, and that's why I founded GetRefunds.com to cut through the red tape and get you the money. The team of tax attorneys we have put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program. We do all the work, charge not a dime up front, and simply share a percentage of the cash that we get for you. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those that took PPP, nonprofits, and even those that had increases in sales. We have helped return over $1 billion to businesses, and we can help you too. Just go to GetRefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited period of time. Don't lose out on up to $26,000 per employee. Go to GetRefunds.com. That's GetRefunds.com.
Live on DAZN Pay-Per-View, September 17th, Part 3. Canelo versus Triple G to take the trilogy. Bad blood, a score to settle, controversy, brutality, pure hostility. For victory, for history, for the trilogy. Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. September 17th, live on DAZN pay-per-view. Visit DAZN.com.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, kgmz-fm at HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Okay, Jerry Rice spoke on this a little bit yesterday when he's on the morning show. We'll have that for you in a little bit. We'll keep going with your phone calls. It's all sponsored by Fremont Bank, full service banking, no compromises. Larry Krueger's in for Dibs, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Cut down 2 hours, hour 57 minutes. Brock Purdy, Nate Sudfeld, Trey Sermon, and Jordan Mason at this hour all remain on the roster. Those
How
are the
about
headlines.
D-line? How about the guys I'm looking for? Kamoko Toure, Kerry Hyder, and Jordan Willis. And the Niners are so stacked on the D, but man, on the D-line, all three of those guys have played well enough to be on the roster. The question is, do they carry 10 or 11 D linemen? I had 11 on my 53. I'm eager to see what they'll do because almost assuredly the player they cut there will sign somewhere.
I feel like did I see something on Jordan Willis already?
Jordan Willis had that big play in the Packer game last year.
I thought I saw his name come across as a cut. I may be wrong. So, I'm thinking now based on what I'm looking at. Maybe I saw a different name on that one. But again, the lead story as far as cuts, if you're just joining us, JaMychal Hasty. Earlier this morning, cut by the San Francisco 49ers. I also, real quick, I don't always do this. Like we definitely incorporate the comments from YouTube and our text line into our conversation. And just so you all know, like every day there's going to be 50 to 100 that are like, you are the biggest moron in the history of man. Like you've got some, Larry, I've got. That doesn't bother us. You can keep those coming. I think they're funny. That's great. But there is one person that's been a little bit almost borderline relentless today. And I bring it up because I want to make sure that this is not where today's conversation goes in the ethos. 707, can't wait for Trey to prove Willie wrong. And we can all laugh at his negativity and terrible takes.
I texted that.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
God bless that texture, by the way. 707.
There's no
fist in the air.
Hold on a
fist
second.
in the air.
There's no Trey proving me wrong. When did I say that I don't like Trey Lance?
You've been against him since he was a child.
I have been behind in favor of this move. Kyle will back me on this, I think, unless he wants to sell me out. He's been with me every day of this show all year. There is never a moment.
I'm not taking that
There's
from
never
your
a
takes.
moment that I've said that I think they should stick with Jimmy and not Trey. And in fact, I think what the chord I'm trying to strike today, and never know if I'm doing a decent job of it, but when people come to these forums and discussions to say, what's your opinion on this player? Why do you want what I think Trey Lance is going to do? I'm telling you what I see they think. I'm telling you.
And it's your interpretation of
it
what
is
they
my
think, 'cause
interpretation.
You're not even talking to them.
No, but I am talking to people.
Right.
And they're talking to people and they're talking to people, and you get how a tree grows. But my interpretation is based on what their interpretation is. And they are telling you what they think based on their actions. Now, their actions at the end of the last year were to let Jimmy walk to a microphone and say, see ya. And now Jimmy's here. And so, at minimum, as I've said,
Things have changed.
At minimum, many things have changed.
Right.
From a shoulder surgery to a leverage based on the rest of the league and their desire for Jimmy and money. All of those things are here, and we've talked about them all. But at minimum, there's no way you can tell me that they don't think Trey is at least not where they had hoped in a perfect world he would be today. Because if he was, you don't do this to your guy.
I will agree with you.
Don't do this
that
to your guy.
I would agree with you that if Trey had completed, like, let's say 75% of his passes and looked just absolutely airtight, that they maybe feel better about just staying with their guys. But I think this has much more to do with Jimmy and not wanting him in L.A. not wanting the Rams to have a second bite of the apple, not wanting Seattle to have a shot at a decent year. And I think it's a little bit more about that. And also, let's be honest, they made a brilliant deal. That's a great deal.
Oh,
they got a quarterback.
Financially, yes.
They got a quarterback to take his base salary down $18 million. And now he's playing for $6 million. Now they have essentially given themselves. Yesterday they were looking at cutting him and wanting him watching him go to the Rams or Seahawks potentially. Now you have insurance against Trey, and you have a tradable asset that could net you a second or third round pick.
The word could is a wonderful word in everything that we're doing and will do for the next 2 weeks, because yes, this could go a direction that ends up being amazing. Trey could miss a few games. Jimmy can come in. He can win those games. Yes, but it also could turn into a quarterback controversy, and it could derail Trey's confidence, and it could end up in a spot where at the end of the year, Jimmy comes in, wins games, and you're like, okay, what now? Now we have, what are we moving? What if he goes on the same run? Now what? Are you moving off of Trey? Are you re-signing Jimmy for more money than you were paying him last year? I mean,
it's all fluid.
Right.
I mean, let's just say this.
I don't think they wanted fluid this year.
I know.
That's not what they wanted.
But it's a volatile biz. What if Trey comes in and falls on his face and Jimmy steps in and leads them to the Super Bowl? I think Jimmy stays. I think they wind up trading Trey at the end of the year. Seriously.
No, you're not wrong, but I'm laughing. It's just like, can you imagine? And my dude, I mean, you wanted Jimmy traded before last year. Or you thought he was going to be at least.
No, I see it exactly the same way that Shanahan and Lynch see it, which is that in the last 20 years, only 2 Jimmy Garoppolos have won the Super Bowl. And I want more than a 10% chance of winning a Super Bowl. I want more like a 40 or 50% chance. So I think it's just about playing the odds.
I know, but all the people...
I think Jimmy could win a Super Bowl, but it's once every 10 years. That's what the history tells us.
You got to know, and this goes to some people more than others, but all of the Jimmy can't win, you got to get him out of here, you got to move on. And
that was what Kyle was saying.
Fine, right. Well, I don't know if he said that. He
said it by his actions.
We can do better, is what he said. He didn't say Jimmy can't win.
No, but by his actions,
we can do better for cheaper, I think, is if I had to put one sentence on what the 49ers did. We can do better for cheaper.
They really got it all, Mark, because they got the cheaper quarterback. They built up their roster.
Now they got another cheaper quarterback.
Got another cheaper quarterback, and they've got a great roster.
Right.
So, I mean, I think Lynch and Shanahan are the huge winners.
Can we all take a moment, though, to laugh at how many people, the same people who are like, can't stand Jimmy, so excited that he's gone, are the same people that yesterday went, yeah, man, you got to have a Super Bowl-ready quarterback if Trey's not ready. It's like, if he's a Super Bowl-ready quarterback, why did you all want to drive him to the airport?
There's a big difference between you got a 10% chance with him as the starter versus Jimmy Garoppolo as the best backup in the league. If he was, I don't want him at $24 million. They didn't want him at $24 million. Nobody wanted him at $24 million. Guess what? At 6.5, I kind of like him as the backup. I really like him.
Although and yet they still shopped. Again, they know, and so do you. I know you do. You know the pitfalls here. There are many.
I just don't think that the media ones where we're talking every day about this, that's great for us and that's great for the fans. But that's not going to impact the Niners.
I think that's an amazing statement when we're talking about the fact that there are people in these helmets. Of course they're affected by what's going on around them and what people say, just like all of us are. Bob, in San Francisco, you're on with Willard and Larry. What are you doing, Bob?
Hey, I'm just getting ready to talk right now. Hi.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you've gotten there, because sometimes, Bob, it takes 2 or 3 years to be ready for your job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Come back in a year.
I'm also happy to hear Larry on the airwaves again. That's a nice little
Thank you, brother.
Me too.
Anyway, okay, so I got to say that I think Jimmy's just a class act all the way around. He's the so anti-me guy. I mean, think about it. This is the best of all worlds, because now he can really coach up Trey. And let's say Trey does a decent job this year. You know, it's going to be a lot predicated on the experience of Jimmy helping him out. And I think this is a great move. And he takes an $18 million cut because he already made $100 million. He's set for the rest of his life. The whole thing is that, I just think it's a great move. It shows his class, and it's just going to work out, I think.
It's funny. Jimmy did show a graciousness in how he went about it. If you believe the people around the team, if you believe Trey, if you believe some of the other players who have talked about it, as far as Jimmy's willingness to basically mentor his replacement, how many people would feel comfortable in their place of work mentoring the guy who not possibly will take over their job, almost assuredly would take over their job.
Yeah, that
shows his character.
That's one thing that's never been in question. And so I don't think there's any question even this year about, like, how does Jimmy handle this? Like, well, first of all, who cares on that? And second of all, we have the utmost confidence that he will. Like, Jimmy will always do the right thing by his teammates, always the right thing on the sideline, the right thing behind the scenes. In fact, you heard me yesterday, I got to the point where I'm like, are you there? Like, what would make Jimmy react? Does anything get him upset? Have you ever seen him upset at anything ever?
No.
So I don't know. So I'm not worried about that at all. I just think there are a bunch of football scenarios, A, that could take this into a very uncomfortable sphere, and B, I just think the 49ers are a lot of people are giving them a victory lap that I don't think they necessarily earned, because this is not what they were trying to do. Well, this is not what they were trying to do.
Originally, yes, I agree. Also, I think a lot of this is going to be on Shanahan, because I think Holmgren kind of referenced it. How you go about taking one guy in and out of the game, how you wind up, distributing the playing time to your two quarterbacks is a huge part of this equation on whether or not it's going to work or not. One of the things we saw last year early in the season is we saw Jimmy lead drives. They got into the red zone, and here came Trey. I really believe, now I have no sources on this, but I really believe that some veteran or collection of veterans went to Kyle and said, no.
I agree with you.
And because it just disappeared. The Trey package suddenly became
gone.
Nothing.
Right.
Because I think they looked at that and said, no, this is not going to work that way. And maybe Jimmy expressed that to his teammates. Maybe his teammates voiced that on his behalf. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see this year. Does Kyle try to do the same thing? Because now you've got
Jimmy package?
Well, yeah, like now, are you going to go to Jimmy in certain situations?
When's the right spot? It's not the 5. Is it the other 5-yard line? Like when do you want Jimmy in there? When you're on the 35 and you're trying to get to the 30 to make the field goal a little easier? Like, when does the Jimmy package come in?
Well, you might bring Jimmy in like in the Texans game last year, the Trey second start. Trey got shut out in the first half.
Yep.
You might bring Jimmy in the second half.
See, then you lose on what was probably his best moment.
I know.
And that is among my fears.
Which that's going to be the balancing act.
Him
that's
getting
on Kyle.
yanked. Right. Him getting yanked before he can go out and experience some success.
Yeah.
We'll keep going on the phones. Jerry Rice said this yesterday on our morning show with regard to the idea of a big-name quarterback looking over the shoulder of a young one.
I'm interested to see how Kyle Shanahan is going to put this together for Trey Lance, where, this guy where he doesn't feel the pressure, where he can just go out and play football, where we can have him healthy the entire season. And if all of that should happen, I think we're going to have a fantastic season. It's going to be exciting to see this young kid just, become a superstar.
Okay, hours later, that pressure returned. So I can't wait to see Trey. No pressure. You're the guy. Go out there and do it. And then hours later, Jimmy Garoppolo's on the team.
Here's the thing, though. You were looking at that as additional pressure. I think the real pressure for Trey comes in the fact that it is a Super Bowl ready roster.
Yeah.
And I think we said it 2 days ago before we even knew about this, that the standard for Trey is double-digit wins and make the playoffs. That right there is kind of a high standard. So, does Jimmy complicate things? Does Jimmy put pressure on, add pressure to the situation? Possibly, but man, the kid already had a lot of pressure, so I don't know. I don't know that it adds that much more.
408, Willard is a 91 Honda Accord, and Krueger is a 92 Mazda Miata, which I'm going to take to mean that I am
convertible.
I am bigger and more reliable. But yes, you're more of an airhead.
One of my buddies
said. Yes,
one of my buddies texted me. He said Jimmy's a souped up Suzuki Samurai with
still make that
with jacked up wheels. all right.
Let's go to Lori in Phoenix. Hi, Lori. You're on with Willard and Larry. What are you doing?
Just trying to get a few minutes of relaxation in before somebody in my family comes in and asks me for something.
Well, that's not going to happen, Lori. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can. Well, I think we do that when we die or something. Yeah.
So, but I'm sure they're coming. So anyway, I think when something like this happens, something that's unexpected like this that happened yesterday, I think as humans, we just tend to go to the negative side, which is, I think, what you're kind of doing, Mark. You think of all the bad things that could happen because it's something that you didn't expect to happen. And when there's a lot of pros, that happen too. From a business aspect, as Larry's been saying, I agree with everything he said. I do think having Jimmy on the roster makes the team better. But I can understand the pitfalls that what you're talking about, Mark. But the other thing is that what we forget is they've gone through this just last year. Granted, like Jimmy said in his press conference, he wouldn't wish that on anybody. But as you go through things in life, you learn very quickly things you want to do again and things you don't. Like my first marriage. Never want to go through that again. There's other things in life.
Samesies.
You go, okay, I can handle this. I can do this. We did this. It worked. We can make it work again. This is a temporary pivot that the Niners have taken. They already know the two guys can work together. You know what you got in Jimmy. You don't know what you have in Trey. You know what you want, why you drafted Trey was because he could do the things that Jimmy can't do. But right now, he may not be able to do the things that Jimmy can do as well as they would like him to. So I think having a mentor there, you know the guys can work together. I think it could work. It could all go awry, but at this point, you have a Super Bowl roster. Why not try one more time?
Well,
if not, you were just going to throw Jimmy away.
Lori, it's a great call. And by the way, Larry, you know this, something I've been working on in my life. I get called Captain Negative Pants just about every day of my day.
Mark is an eternal optimist.
If I could just look at things through, like, I don't know, Bay Area sports glasses a little bit more often, man, my life would be better.
You were so positive across the street. Now you came over here, you're so negative.
Oh, my gosh.
Why are you so negative?
Yeah. Working on it.
See, I'm a bastion of positivity.
I've been hardened by the streets of the Bay Area now that I'm back.
Hey, you know what? If anybody who thinks Mark was negative, he had the Giants as still alive going into last night's game.
No, I didn't. That was a joke. You couldn't. Man, the whole text chain was tongue-in-cheek. But last night there was a funeral. Like, if you'd swept the Padres.
My Giants' funeral came like about 2 days after the 4th of July.
Yeah, they've been dead. They've been dead ever since they came out of the All-Star break and did what they did against the Dodgers. But anyway, circling back to the larger point, it's not that I look at this and go, oh, but here's all the bad stuff that can happen.
You're pushing back against this idea that this was like part of some master plan.
It definitely
this
was
is
not
part of the master plan. I agree
with that. And if you want to call this cynicism, I'll wear that today and I'm fine. And I get that some of you may not believe this to be true, and some of you are translating this to mean that I think something's wrong with Trey Lance. That's not it at all. I do believe that one aspect of this is that the 49ers are not as sold on Trey Lance today as they hoped to be on this day. That is where I stand on this. And I know that some of you are not there, but to me, that's bigger than your point, with which I've agreed for 2 days now, which is that there is a positive aspect to this season that this creates. The insurance policy, the ability to either move off of Trey or if he gets hurt, have a very high-level quarterback come in and play football for you. Totally understand that. To me, bigger when you go 3 first rounds of assets on one guy, the bigger aspect is after 18 months, you're not sure. And I know so many people are going to go, but Mark.
It's only 2 starts.
2 starts, right? But that's our eyes. They're with him every day. They're with him every day. They watch every little thing that he does. And the same way, Patrick Mahomes had only had 1 start. He had 1. And Andy Reid was sitting there going, man, wait till the world sees this. And
Jimmy, by the way, has been at these practices. If Jimmy was getting
jogging,
but he's been there, so he's seen it.
Jogging in shorts.
Why would he take backup money to come in?
Well, because that's all he's being offered. He had no offers. He had no offers.
But I mean, why would he take less money than Trey if he really thought, hey, I'm way better than this guy? This guy's terrible. I'm watching him at practice.
Because you'll end up with 0. Like this, not only we're fixated on 6.5. Understand if he starts starting, that number's going up. There's so many incentives built into this thing. It could end up being 14, 15
I
million.
just think that you're buying into the people that have said that he's got arm fatigue, he's got inaccuracies. And I'll tell you this, the people that were saying that weren't at practice.
Well,
so
see,
I'm watching him play.
Kyle Shanahan's saying it, and he was at practice.
I know, but I was
That's
at
what I
practice,
think.
and I'm watching him complete red zone passes, and they're dimes. And then I'm watching him the next day go down the field, Ray McLeod, flat dime. I mean, Danny Gray in stride.
But
Then we get to the preseason, and he went up top to Danny Gray.
Right.
He hit him in stride. I don't know that I've seen Jimmy Garoppolo hit a receiver in the deep quadrant of the field in stride ever.
But Larry, if you're going to buy into practice accuracy, then you're denying the beat writers on almost the daily basis going, oh, tough day for Trey. Tough day for Trey. Threw 2 picks. Tough day for Trey. We've had a steady stream of that. So if you're going to buy into practice,
well, first of all,
you have to buy that too.
Because I'm listening to every audio cut from every player after every practice. Trent Williams talked about that, and he's like, hey, guys, don't put a lot into practice.
But you're putting a lot into practice.
No, I'm putting a lot into ball placement in practice. What I'm talking about, when you're talking about picks, Mark, you're talking about the defense anticipating what's going on.
I don't put anything into it.
There's a script.
I don't
they know the script.
I don't put anything into it.
It's like having a spelling test and you're looking down at the words.
Yeah, I feel like you're saying this part of practice matters and that part of practice doesn't.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one because I'm just like, no. I'm like, no practice. Like, just let's see it in a game.
But I mean, Trey's trying to throw the ball accurately, so I think that you can evaluate. But defenders who know the script,
no, that's fair.
Stepping in front of a pass that Trey Lance made.
Right.
I don't put a lot of credence into interceptions in practice.
I'm with you on that. Jeff in Marin is next up. Hey, Jeff, you're on with Willard and Larry. What are you doing?
Hey, guys. So I got a couple comments. First of all, I understand why they did Jimmy, but I think it's more about making him more tradable. I think if you keep him on the team, you've got an instant quarterback controversy, and that is not good for Trey Lance or Jimmy or the team. The next point is the offensive line looks porous, to be polite. It looks crappy, to be unpolite or impolite. They're going to need quarterback depth, and I agree. I think Purdy looks substantially better than Sudfeld does. He's far more athletic. He's the kid you got to keep, especially if they're going with Trey and Garoppolo and a third quarterback. And I don't think you expose Purdy to being waived and picked up by another team. I think those 4 years of starting experience at Iowa State have proven themselves. That one play he made, which was like a tip drill, where the ball gets up in the air, he tips, it gets tipped, he catches it, has the presence of mind to get the ball back in his hands, continue to roll out, and completes the pass. Says everything you need to know about that kid's potential.
Jeff, thanks very much. The one thing about making him tradable, I agree, it's a more tradable contract, but you got to factor in, Jimmy's not going anywhere he doesn't want to go. So it's more tradable financially. It's less tradable in terms of who you can call. Jimmy's not going to go. Like,
he has a seat at the table.
Right. He's got a no-trade clause. So if you're trying to trade him, like if somebody gets hurt and it's a terrible team, no is the answer.
He protected himself against being just offloaded.
Right.
But
if Justin Fields gets hurt and the Bears are like, come on, and maybe he'd like that because it's like hometown, but I don't want to go there because as you said, and you're right about this, what's most important to Jimmy is looking good this year for a free agent deal next year.
The NFL is also about a lot of unexpected. What if they keep Purdy and Purdy winds up being better than Jimmy or Lance this year?
God, come on. How are you going to even get that information?
Just saying.
You know what would have to happen for us to even find that out?
I mean, nobody was
0-10 before you even tried Brock Purdy.
Around the draft time when Washington went with RG3 and Kirk Cousins, nobody said anything about Kirk Cousins. It was all RG3. RG3 is sitting in some studio somewhere as a broadcaster. Kirk Cousins has made $100 million as an NFL starter.
We got more of your calls coming up next. 888-957-9570. Pick your battles, and Steiny and Goo loom as well. Larry Krueger, Mark Willard, 95.7 The Game.
The Prophet, Peter King. who's been saying for months to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. Joins Damon and Ratto today at 3:30.
If you lose your starting quarterback, in most cases, your season is over. And the 49ers don't want that to be the case. I think it would be a huge mistake, even if Garoppolo goes to the bench. I'm not trading Garoppolo.
The best 49ers coverage is right here on 95.7 The Game.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
Every search you make, every click you take, they'll be watching you.
Are you tired of being tracked online? There's a simple solution. DuckDuckGo. It's an all-in-one privacy app with a built-in private search engine, web browser, one-click data clearing, email protection, and more, all for free. Download the app today and get the most comprehensive privacy protection with the push of a button. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
If you owe back taxes to the IRS, have unfiled returns, or are worried about an audit, the IRS is hiring 87,000 new agents to address these very issues. That means if you need to get your tax problems resolved, now is the time to get started. I'm tax attorney Robert Goldstein, and my firm specializes in helping individuals and small businesses resolve their tax problems. We work to stop IRS and state seizures. We may be able to settle your tax debt for pennies on the dollar with an offer in compromise. We prepare your past due returns, even if you have no records, and represent you before the IRS and state in an audit. At the law offices of Robert Goldstein, the consultation is always free, and we have offices located throughout the Bay Area. To schedule your free consultation, call 1-888-TAX-EXIT. That's 888-TAXEXIT. 888-TAX-EXIT, and make us your last stop.
Nature Valley has helped restore access to 10,000 miles of national park trails. And we're on our way to restoring even more, because every mile is a new memory. Life happens out there. Nature Valley.
Everyone knows how beneficial therapy can be, but traditional therapy can be overwhelming, confusing, and inconvenient. When scheduling in-person therapy, it can be difficult to find the right therapist near you, and it can take weeks to get on their calendar. We knew there had to be a better way, and that's where BetterHelp began. I'm Danny, co-founder of BetterHelp Online Therapy. When Alana and I started BetterHelp in 2013, our mission was simple: find a way to make professional therapy accessible, affordable, and convenient for everyone. BetterHelp works around your schedule and lifestyle. You can connect to a therapist by phone, video call, or even text message. You don't even have to turn on your camera if you don't feel comfortable. And if your therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch anytime with the click of a button, because BetterHelp is designed with you in mind. See why over 2 million members have trusted BetterHelp for online therapy. Go to betterhelp.com/youfirst and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/youfirst for 10% off your first month.
It's the bottom of the ninth, the game's on the line, and your small business needs a loan fast. What's your move? Go to OnDeck.com, America's largest online small business lender. With OnDeck, you can apply in minutes, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Go to OnDeck.com. Your loan is on deck. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank, a Utah Chartered Industrial Bank member FDIC. Limited eligibility for same-day funding. OnDeck does not lend in every state. All loans subject to lender approval.
Bart is turning 50, and we'd love to celebrate with you. Get 50% off your ride in honor of Bart's 50 years of service to the Bay Area when you pay with Clipper. That's 50% off Clipper Bart fares for the entire month of September. Add Clipper to your digital wallet for free. If you're eligible for other Clipper discounts like youth or senior fares, you get to take an additional 50% off those too. Details at bart.gov/50 years. That's bart.gov/50 years. Celebrate Bart's 50 years of service with us this September. Let's go!
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
We are having fun with roster cutdown day in addition to discussing this Jimmy move, and we'll get back to your calls in just a second. Here's the 49er update. Dante Johnson, veteran defensive back, has been cut by the 49ers. And yes, for those of you who were with us a few minutes ago when I was like, did I see Jordan Willis's name come across? No, Jordan Mills'
Gotcha.
name came across. The offensive lineman as being cut. So Dante Johnson is gone. And then here's an NFL surprise that I am going to have so much fun with at dinner tonight because my son last night, when Lovie Smith in Houston would not, they go, who's your starting running back? And he goes, I'm not naming a starting running back.
Right.
And my son, from a week ago, he was having a draft. And I go, brother, you need to go get yourself
Dameon Pierce.
You need to go get yourself Dameon Pierce. That is the Texans starting running back. And he goes, no, it's not. They've got Marlon Mack. I go, will you please trust me? Dameon Pierce is going to be their starter. So last night, Lovie Smith wouldn't name a starter. And he goes, see, Dad, you're wrong. It's totally going to be Marlon Mack. And I go, will you let this play out over the next 2 weeks? I'm telling you that Dameon Pierce is their starter. Guess who just got released? Marlon Mack. He's not even on the team.
That is so
If
funny.
there is ever a vote of confidence in a young player, it's what the Houston Texans just did. They have got a young running back they love.
Yeah.
His name is Dameon Pierce.
And he's good. And my 13-year-old said the same thing last night. I came in and he's like, Dad, you reached for Dameon Pierce because I took him in the third round. I'm like, yeah, I know I reached. He's like, no,
third
Dad.
round is a reach.
He's
but
like,
still.
Dad, no, you really blew it because Marlon Mack's probably going to be the starter there. I go, no, he's not.
Marlon
No, he's
Mack.
not. I go, did Dameon Pierce get hurt? He's like, no. He's like, oh, just wait. We'll see how it all shakes out.
I'm shocked, actually, that they didn't at least keep him as a backup. I wonder if Marlon Mack's agent didn't say, Adele Dazeem, let him go, because Marlon Mack is still only 26 years old.
Yeah.
So he probably thinks he'll be the first call, and he probably will be if he's not signed right away somewhere else. If a running back gets hurt somewhere, he'll be the first call. I wonder if his agent doesn't know something somewhere where somebody will give him a little bit more of a role, because Dameon Pierce is going to be that dude in Houston this year. Hope he is blessed with health. So, all right, let's keep it going. Larry Krueger in for Dibs. Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. How about Darnell in Oakland? Darnell, what's cooking? What's shaking? What are you doing?
What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
So, I just I had two things. So, the first one is I disagree with the notion that the 49ers are not all the way sold on Trey Lance yet, and that's the reason why they're bringing in Jimmy. I would be more I would be more concerned if they said we're bringing in Jimmy to compete. Now, if they're saying Jimmy's going to compete for a certain job, then I'll be more concerned about Trey Lance. The second thing is with the whole Jimmy thing is we just have to listen to what they were saying all offseason, which was we're not going to let him go for nothing. And so from there, they tried to trade him. They couldn't trade him. They made his contract a little more tradable, and they get to keep him as an insurance for trade. And at the end of the season, once it all play out, they get a compensatory pick for it. So to me, it's just all about them trying to get something for Jimmy and not letting him go for anything. I think that's what the whole Jimmy Stan situation is about. Just make sure that they always get something for him and not let him go for nothing.
I mean, Darnell, there's a lot of what you're saying here that's really, really smart and spot on. You've clearly read up on the situation. Like, I wonder if people have thought about that aspect of it. When we talk about what could the 49ers get for Jimmy in a trade, I think we quickly got to a spot this offseason where fans would love a third-round pick, right? Well, that's what you get next year now if he just plays this out and leaves and signs somewhere else. The 49ers will get a compensatory third-round draft pick, and so that's the bottom now. You're not taking anything less than that. But, again, I'll just keep – every time someone talks about it being tradable, I agree with you. I said the same thing yesterday. However, it's also dependent on Jimmy waiving his new no-trade clause.
It's funny, John Lynch was asked about this going into camp and said – are you going to trade Jim? Are you going to release Jimmy? And he's like, he's too good of a player to release. I think he'll either be with us or he'll be with somebody else. And we just didn't believe it. We just everybody believed that, they have no leverage and they'll just have to drive this thing off the cliff and they'll be forced to release him. And they figured out a way to get, to not do that. And they win. Whoever wanted Jimmy loses, and the 49ers are deeper because of it, and it does complicate things, and it puts a little bit more pressure on Trey's plate, and we'll see if he can handle it.
Yeah, it's no sweat on Jimmy. Like, here's another point that you've made, and I agree here. Like, if you're trying to build your value for next year, if Jimmy plays, he's going to play pretty well. He's with Kyle Shanahan in a 49er helmet, and he knows exactly what to do. And if he doesn't play, the legend only grows. You just love backup quarterbacks, and we've watched guys get starting jobs off of just sitting there with a clipboard, Mitch Trubisky. So there is no downside for Jimmy's future free agent value with what he pulled off yesterday and what Don Yee pulled off yesterday. I'll give them that. Absolutely. Yep. It's the best spot for his future value to be.
Also, one other significant Niner cut, Quantrez Knight, wore 43 in the preseason, the former UCLA Bruin. Niners were looking at him as maybe the fifth corner or sixth corner or possibly a free safety, maybe a nickel. He got cut, so I would imagine his dad, Tommy Knight, follows me on Twitter and was hopeful that Quantrez would make it. Sounds like he's ticketed for the practice squad if he clears.
If he clears, yeah. Let's see. Is it Jaguayo? Did I say that right? Jaguayo in Soledad. Hey, you're next up with Mark and Larry. What are you doing?
Oh, not much. Just listening to you guys.
Appreciate it.
So I just want to make a couple of points. First of all, you're correct, Mark, that the Niners did say at the end of last season goodbye to Jimmy, but they didn't know about the surgery. That kind of threw a monkey wrench into the whole trade scenario. And so then they had to try to get the best option, to try and trade him, but they couldn't. Everything dried up. There was no place for him to go. So I think with him getting, the deal that he got with the $6 million from 24 to 6, that's pretty good. And it does hopefully give him time until November 2nd, where maybe they'll be able to pull off some kind of a trade. I think that's a trade deadline. And the last thing I wanted to say was that I think if Trey is the QB1 that we all hope and think that he can be, then he welcomes all the smoke from Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't worry. Again, Gawaio, thank you very much. I don't. You mentioned this yesterday. I'm not worried about Trey's mental stability.
Psyche.
I'm not worried about that at all. He can handle it. It's the organization opening itself up to potential issues, like the thing he said. The 49ers said goodbye, and then the shoulder surgery threw a wrench into the whole thing. That's all true. We've known that all off season, and we all thought that was still leading to him being cut, which was actually indicated as a possibility later in the season as well. Not leading to this. This is a completely different dynamic that very few people, at least until recently, opened themselves up to. And I believe the 49ers are one of those people who did not open themselves up to this until very recently.
We would have spent more time talking about this in the last few weeks if we really felt like Jimmy would go down this road. I think that's the biggest surprise here, is that Jimmy was willing to renegotiate. I thought he would drive the thing off the cliff and force the 49ers to make him a free agent and let him go out into the free agent marketplace and cut his own deal.
Yep.
But I think Don Yee looked at the landscape and said, what are we really after, Jimmy? Since there's no money for us that we want that's going to be significant. And we now feel like there's nobody out there that's going to pay you $24 million. So let's be all about getting that $20+ million next free agent market. What's the best way to position ourselves for that? Well, we could go elsewhere and back up, or we could stay here and back up. And I think they made the right call.
Another somewhat surprising, maybe eyebrow-raising cut. 49ers letting go of wide receiver Malik Turner.
Tay Martin.
Yep, Tay Martin.
Yeah, Malik Turner was a phenomenal special teams. You saw him make that helmet-to-helmet hit.
Yep.
But, Malik Turner's been impressive all summer. Tay Martin is a really nice young receiver. I would imagine one or both those guys wind up on the practice squad.
It's all brought to you by MB Jesse Painting. Are you a commercial property owner or manager working on 2022 painting plans? MB Jesse Painting offers full repaints, maintenance painting, carpentry, and wood rot repairs. Why wait? Call 855-MB-JESSE today or online at mbjesse.com. Shanahan and Lynch on a conference call that starts in 2 minutes.
Wow.
So we will have some answers to turn around quickly. Don't go anywhere. With Larry Krueger, Mark Willard, 95.7 The Game.
It's unbelievable news for the 49ers. Jimmy G is staying in the Bay.
The Jimmy Garoppolo situation has come to a resolution, at least for now. Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers agreed to restructure a one-year contract that will keep Garoppolo in San Francisco this season. What the F is going on?
Keep it locked right here on 95.7 The Game.
We all know someone who's all work and no chill. Trust me, that used to be me. But then I found Galaxy Z Fold 4, which allows me to do more things at once. Much better. Now I can take video calls from my phone and use it to take notes at the same time.
Wait, are you at the spa?
Or check my shopping list while ordering more scented candles and face masks on the foldable, expansive screen. Don't take your to-do list one line at a time. Multitask so you can relax.
Get the new Galaxy Z Fold 4 at Samsung.com today.
Why do we find popping bubble wrap so satisfying? Why do we say boop when we touch somebody's nose? Boop? Why do we turn anything and everything into drums?
Honey, I need those pots to start dinner.
Why do we sing in the shower?
I'm taking a shower.
And outside the shower.
This conference call is boring.
Rick, you are not on mute.
Why? For the same reason we play scratchers from the California Lottery. Because a little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured, so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Hey, Becky, what about this beat for your next song?
It's cool, but I'm into faster stuff lately. Like Xfinity that gives me beyond gig speeds.
Got it. What about this then?
It sounds powerful, just like Xfinity. Because its supersonic Wi-Fi has 3 times the bandwidth, you can connect hundreds of devices at once.
That's what I call power.
Unbeatable internet from Xfinity. Made to do anything so you can do anything.
Get the Xfinity Supersonic Bundle with unlimited gig speed internet, Wi-Fi equipment included, and a free 4K streaming box. All for $50 a month with a 2-year internet rate guarantee and no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to Xfinity.com/gig, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and autopay. New Gigabit Extra internet customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. Reduced speeds up after 20 gigabytes wireless usage. After 24 months, regular rates apply. Requires compatible Xfinity Gateway.
Breathe new life into life at home with IKEA Festival. 10 topics, one purpose. To get more out of the homes we love. What are you passionate about? Art? Dance? Music? Food? Fur babies? Get inspired, create, and share with us. With celebrations, giveaways, IKEA family offers, and live streams with expert advice. It's all happening at IKEA Festival. Join us from August 26th through September 10th online or at your local IKEA store. Learn more at IKEA-USA.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
So yeah, I used the savings from switching to Progressive 50 years ago to finally buy my dream car. It's a self-driving flying car, but we just say self-flying now. You know, because it's the future, and cars fly in the future.
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Whew, this feels good! Why does he feel good? Because he has all the hot water he needs. Now you can catch the feels with a Navien tankless hot water heater. Imagine all the hot water you want for as long as you need. No wasting money and energy. No more cutting that shower short. Just hot water all the time, every time. So feel good. Woo! So good. With a Navien tankless hot water heater. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com to learn more.
You can't get much for $5 these days. Unless you go to Wendy's for a $5 Biggie Bag. Get your choice of double stack, junior bacon cheeseburger, or crispy chicken BLT. Plus 4-piece nugs, fries, and a drink. All for just $5. You got that bag. You got that Biggie Bag. You got that bag. That was smooth, wasn't it? That's how you're gonna feel when you get that Biggie Bag at Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes 4-piece nuggets, small soft drink, and small fry. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
In Redwood City, very mild, a high of just 78 degrees.
Weather brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Get your favorites on the free Odyssey app. Listen to local and national news stations, plus your music, sports, and podcasts for free wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Okay, Larry is in for Dibs, obviously. Hello, Mila Dibley. Welcome to the world. That was yesterday.
A little clap for her.
Yeah. Give Dibs a little shout on social media if you can. He is a daddy again. He is a girl dad for the first time.
There you go. I love being a girl dad. By the way.
Yeah. Me too. And then Steiny and Goo are going to get in here in a second. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are talking on a conference call right now. I can give you a little bit of what's starting to come in. First of all, John Lynch started by saying yesterday was a great day for our organization. He also said our patience was rewarded. He also said that the discussion just with the idea of keeping Jimmy, he says he and Kyle started talking about that about a month ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
So those are the first.
That's before camp.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what about a month ago means, but yeah, right about at the start of camp.
So really, these inaccuracy issues that he's had in camp, their conversations about bringing Jimmy back predate those practices.
Well,
so it's not necessarily cause and effect.
But again, yeah, I've never put it all about this camp.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
They're with him every day. They're with him every single day. All right, what do we have, Kyle? Is this Kyle or is this John? What do we got here? You got a clip, you said? Oh, we got nothing yet. Okay, got it. So we're getting that turned around.
A lot of high-profile cuts, too. You said Alex Leatherwood just got cut by the Raiders.
Alex Leatherwood, an offensive tackle, was the 17th overall pick in the Trey Lance draft.
I know.
Just a year and a half ago,
Mike Mayock.
17th overall pick, cut by the new regime with the Las Vegas Raiders. And then also, just a further thought with regard to the Texans running back situation after they cut Marlon Mack, John McClain, our very good friend, who has covered that team for years, says they are very anxious to add to their running back room to get another player behind Pierce, who is the clear running back one. They've got Ogunbowale, who was with Jacksonville last year. They've got him. They've got Rex Burkhead. They've got Royce Freeman, the former Bronco.
Who's slow.
That's not so great. So that's it. And I'm starting to think about the Niner running back room. You cut Hasty. There's probably at least one more cut. With the other two guys, Mason, Trey Sermon, a trade. Could the Texans be looking at the 49er running back room and trying to add to it there. We shall see. Okay, before we continue, before we get Steiny and Goo in here, before we do Pick Your Battles, what do we got here, Kyle?
This is the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan conference call, about 5 minutes of the meaty stuff.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's John. I'm here with Kyle. We've got a lot going on today, trying to get to our 53. So we'll be relatively quick and keep it to questions about Jimmy, just because for strategic reasons with our roster. So I'll just start by saying, yesterday was a really good day for this organization. It was because of our belief in our team as it's currently constructed that we wanted to add another piece, and it was from in-house with Jimmy, and we're really pleased that we were able to do it. It took everyone's cooperation. It took a lot of patience, and we feel that was rewarded. With that, we'll open it up to questions, and go ahead.
John, maybe you could start by taking us through the timeline. It seems like it all happened relatively recently and relatively quickly. Is that right?
Yeah, Kyle and I always talk about the direction of our team. And, this situation, with Jimmy's been going on for some time. I think we've been consistent, with a player of his caliber. You don't just allow him to walk. And then other things complicated, as we've talked about a lot with his shoulder surgery. And so that never materialized. Obviously, there were going to be some deadlines, but Kyle and I just started floating the idea probably a month ago. What if we kept them here in a backup capacity? And, at some point we shared that with Jimmy. It was important for Kyle to let Trey know that, that may be a possibility. And I think that's the right thing to do. And, but the crux of the matter, this wasn't going to happen. And I understand it completely from Jimmy's side. He had his current contract, and they were going to exhaust every opportunity. His agents, Carter Chow and Don Yee have been doing this a long time, and they probably rightly so. I remember at one conversation, think if this were your son, you'd wait for every opportunity to collect that whole salary, and the way you do that is, a lot can happen. And so they waited it out. We waited out, but we had been in communication, and then it kind of came to fruition yesterday morning, and was finished slightly after we got off the practice field. That's the timeline.
Hey, this is for John or Kyle, or I guess even both of you. This is Matt. What I don't understand, obviously this makes the team better, the quarterback room better. And if there was any chance of Jimmy remaining with the club, why wasn't he in meetings, and why was he not out there on the practice field to get him best prepared for the regular season?
I think that was because the chances were, to me, it seemed slim to none, just with the possibility of that happening. I told Jimmy came in here the first week of training camp, like I told you guys we would talk. We talked regularly because he was out here. He wasn't in meetings or practice. But I remember the first week of training camp, me saying to Jimmy, like, hey, if you don't like any of these opportunities, if you don't go to the place you want, you can't get the contract that you want, like, we would love to have you here as a backup in a backup role in that deal. But I want you to know that we feel that way. But I also think there's no way you're not going to get something as this goes throughout training camp. And Jimmy agreed with that. And so we waited throughout all of training camp. And then as we realized I think as he saw the other situations out there, and I think to me it seems like everyone was just waiting for us to cut him so they could see how much they could get him for. But once the last Saturday preseason game happened and no one got injured, then Jimmy thought this was his best situation that he liked. And that's why we were so pumped, because it's obviously a better situation for the Niners. We love getting Jimmy back, but to have him there earlier in camp wasn't an option. We're going to put him out there in practice for his sake and for our sake. He was on a $24 million contract, and he was going to go somewhere else. But none of that came into fruition, and which we would have ended up having to let him go under that current deal. That wasn't an option. But we were always clear to Jimmy that him salary cap wise and stuff in a backup role and supporting Trey in that. And if that worked for him, that was a no brainer for us. We just didn't think the chances of that were going to happen. And it ended up being that way. And so when it was all said and done, even though it was pretty shocking to us, we thought it was a win-win for both sides.
All right, there's a good snippet of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And by the way, some breaking news has come from the conference call in what was continued and said next in that, and I knew, boy, this would just put a huge smile on your face. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to your third-string quarterback, Brock Purdy, who has made the roster for the San Francisco 49ers, solidifying the quarterback room with these other two schmucks. Who knows who they are, Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. But, Larry, your boy is on the team.
I feel very vindicated by that. Cam Inman, if you're out there, bring your checkbook.
It's a vindication sensation is exactly what it is. So Purdy is on, but outside of that, look, I mean, outside of what they had to say, it's certainly intriguing. I guess the headlines would be, they started talking about this a month ago. They've certainly admitted this is not a scenario they saw as possible or plausible. They didn't see it going this way, but they were surprised to have it get here. They also said they have no concerns with regard to the relationship between Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, I guess, again, the mental side, if you will. Those are the headlines from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch.
Well, very interesting day across the NFL. Cut down day always is, but I guess probably the one cut that would probably get the Niner fan most upset is Jason Poe, the offensive guard from Mercer. But I think there's a high likelihood that he'll sneak through waivers and now, have they announced Nate Sudfeld? I mean, obviously Sudfeld is going to be traded.
I don't know. They have not announced anything other than to say that Brock Purdy is on. So
yeah. He did say though that
it'd be amazing if they cut Jimmy Garoppolo in the next hour. That would be no. Sudfeld is in.
He did make it sound like maybe he kind of hinted that he didn't want to talk a lot about the roster cut down, hinting that maybe there would be some trades. The other significant one was Kamoko Toure, who was, Nick Bosa was, hailing him as this incredible find in free agency. Kamoko Toure is an incredibly deep defensive line. He got the short end of the stick.
Confirmed, by the way, that the 49ers are releasing Nate Sudfeld. Yeah, Nate Sudfeld has been released. However, Stein and Guru have been acquired. They have walked into the room to continue this conversation. 1 hour to go. Still some questions. Trey Sermon and Mason. We'll see how that all goes. And you are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM in HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the Odyssey app. Hello, boys.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on, man?
How we doing?
Oh, I'll tell you what.
I see you got the P on your sweater there for Purdy.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Listen, this news that came out yesterday is one of the most unexpected and important sports plays and moves in the last several years. I'm sorry. Yes, I get it. People were like, well, you know what they should do? And 95% of the people said, but that's not happened. They moved on. Everybody told you every which way they were moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. The fact that he is on the roster today is kind of unbelievable when you think back to February and March.
Absolutely.
I agree completely.
It is unreal. It's probably unprecedented, but there are comparisons.
It speaks to how quarterback is unlike any other team sport. It's not like there's, in the NBA, you don't hold, point guards or centers in a different category. In baseball, you don't care, you don't put your first baseman or your closer or you're in a different category. Everybody's in kind of the same category. In football, quarterbacks that you can win with, that takes priority over everything else. It's like if you find a quarterback you can win with, that's your priority. Then it's about making it all work. And I think they've got one of the best quarterback rooms in the league right now.
But quarterback rooms aren't on the field. It's just one quarterback. And I was listening to you guys did a phenomenal job on the changeover. And Larry, I love you to death. But Willard, I got married through I ain't leaving you, Donnie, through the radio because this is a sign that and it's not nothing. It's not a bad thing. It's not death. But Larry, for you to think they can look at Trey and see something, maybe it's going to take a little longer. Not that he's going to be a bust. I just feel like you just don't want to compute that at all. And to me, that's what this signals. That is what this is about. And now it's about, let's say it's not injury. If they go 3-5 and Trey, we can all tell that the TV won't lie to us and he's not getting it done. Now will 10 come out to save the team? Because that's what this is about, not this scholarship that we thought Trey Lance had. He's got 8 lives now because he can't. Even I said it. The silhouette of Jimmy on the sideline will ruin him. They're telling him, I believe, hey, we love you to death. It's your show to begin with. But 10 is over there if this goes all bad.
See, I know it's easy to say it's not about Trey, but I don't think it's about Trey. I think it's about competitive, putting together the best Super Bowl team, and we'll find out. We're going to see. We're going to see Trey start against.
And I'm rooting against Trey.
I know, but we're going to see Trey play in Chicago. We're going to see Trey play at the beginning of the year. We're going to find out. We're going to find out where he's at. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are singing this song of, man, this is an indication of bad. Right. They have bad thoughts about Trey. I think that tune is going to change.
It's not that. Like this is getting too heavy too fast.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying there's an alarm going off. What I think a lot of us are saying is it feels a little naive with what we know in the NFL to think that this is what they're saying it is, which is like, why have one quarterback?
Listen.
To me, Larry, I don't mean Kyle. It's tiny. 1 minute ago, Kyle on the conference call, quote, there are 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. We believe we've got 2 of them.
What is the
First of all, my follow-up question is, so which is the other team that doesn't have one? You stole 2. But second of all, come on, man. This isn't the way you do it.
Listen.
This isn't the way you do it.
I always try to look at best case scenario. So to me, it's undeniable we are no longer in best case scenario. The best case scenario was Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
It was Patrick Mahomes. We got to this point, and instead of we're going to Patrick Mahomes, can we get Alex Smith back?
Wow.
Like, I'm not saying it's over, but this wasn't plan A.
Oh, I don't think it was plan A, but also you're talking about drafting the rawest prospect we've seen come into the league in the first round.
And why, Larry?
So
why did he?
Why
did
was
he
he wrong?
see?
Because he didn't play his senior year. He only had one game.
No, I get that. Yeah. What did Kyle see? Because this kid should be ready. If what you saw, this kid, Jim. I mean, he should have had the key.
But why should he be ready? Because you want him to be ready?
No, because Kyle told us and called the shot that this kid was worth 3 first-round picks and to stunt the growth of the rest of the team because he was ahead of his time.
Is just because it's a deferred gratification doesn't mean.
Right.
You guys are looking at this like, this is a bad sign for Trey. This is an indicator that Trey's not what they thought and he's not going to be what they thought. I don't look at it that way. I look at this as
Trey could still be
clearly not what they thought he'd be at this point of his career.
That's what I'm saying. By the way, do you know how many starts Trey did have in college?
Like 17.
The answer is, to be exact,
17.
Is 19. 19 starts. Do you know how many,
he came into this league seasoned.
Do you know how many Josh Allen had in college?
I like that.
Also, not a big-time college football player. How many did Josh Allen have?
I don't know, but I know Mac Jones had roughly the same as Trey.
Okay, he had 27. So he had 8 more starts than Trey Lance in college. And we are continuing to run with this idea.
One guy's at the FCS level.
Okay, but he played at Wyoming. This isn't Alabama now, okay? That's been the big thing, right? He played at Wyoming.
Everybody's a little different, too. I'm not, but I mean, you guys want to sound the alarm bell on Trey.
You're overstating it.
It's not an alarm.
But it's like
you're dismissing.
I get the sense that you guys, the 3 of you guys want this the same. Want this basically both ways. If he falls on his face, you want to be able to say, hey, man, there were indications. And if he succeeds, you're going to back off.
I don't want to be right. And again,
I think he's going to succeed.
This is not, and I'll speak for me, not you, Steiny and Goo. This is not predictive.
Right.
I am looking at their behavior. This is not my eyes, not my scouts. I'm not a scout. I don't know what's going to happen next. And man, I hope Trey's amazing.
Yeah.
But their behavior, based on everything we know in NFL history, is to say, not 100% sure. Does that mean sound an alarm? No. But
you just heard Kyle say, "Hey, if we could have known that we could have had this guy as a $6 million backup, we would have done that."
We also heard Kyle say goodbye. We hear Kyle say a lot of things. So to get to this point and then say, after 18 months of being with him for every day, to say, "Oh, he's still young, he didn't really play." Well, he pretty much had a very similar situation as Josh Allen. The only difference being is that Josh Allen got to play as a rookie. But Josh Allen also, inaccurate. Balls all over the place.
But no Jimmy G on the Bills either.
But the Bills got done with a year and a half and went, "Oh, we think we got a guy."
I think the Josh Allen.
They're not saying that.
I think the Josh Allen comparison's awesome. Why? Because Josh Allen took really until year 3 to really show it. This 49er fan base is impatient. They don't want to wait 3 years. They're not going to wait 3 years.
Why
from
should
now.
they? They were just in the NFC Championship game.
But they're not
Super Bowl roster.
They don't want to wait 3 years, and it may take 3 years. So then there's a problem there.
What if you play 10? It ain't. Then you could speed that up. But I'm asking you three right now, real quick, Larry. Week 1 in Chicago, are the Niners starting the best quarterback? I'm saying no. Who can say Trey's better than Jimmy? Are the Niners starting the best quarterback with Trey Lance under center 9-11 in Chicago? And it's no indictment on Trey. No, the best option to me is number 10.
Well, at minimum, it's a conversation that you wonder if it's not also happening at dinner with the offensive line when no one can hear. And that's the problem. If we're going to sit in a room and have two separate opinions, then so can they, and that's an issue.
I'd love to know, why you're so convinced that Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think most people would say is about 17 to 20 in the league, for sure is better than Trey Lance after you've watched 2 starts.
The familiarity that he has of this offense, the warts that the coach knows that he has, it worked. It's worked. So why would you get that close to a Super Bowl and pull the plug for an unknown young commodity, which may not get you close to the chip as Jimmy did? That's why. It ain't chip. I don't believe your boy's going to be good, Larry. I'm just like number 10.
You're asking a question. Let me give you an answer.
Yeah.
I think that they look at Jimmy and they say, you know what? Jimmy is a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with maybe once a decade. And history shows once a decade is really what Jimmy Garoppolo type quarterbacks have won the Super Bowl at over the last 20 years. I just think they feel like Trey Lance has more upside potential.
I get it.
And that he can be, instead of being a 17 to 20 quarterback, that he could be maybe 7 to 10, maybe in that range.
I think we're getting into hope versus think is really at the core of what all of us are saying. There's plenty of hope that Trey is going to be the next big thing.
And there should be
I
hope.
want them right by now. I would hope that they think it, not hope it.
Yeah,
that's what happened yesterday.
I think
only 2 starts.
And I'll overstate it a little, but I think they're a little scared. I think it shows that they're scared. And what I mean by that is they can't have Trey Lance struggle and people seeing Jimmy Garoppolo play competent football. I also think, in a way, it wasn't the reason they did it, but I actually believe they've started to set the table a little bit in terms of surviving if Trey Lance ain't it. Because, listen, you go to Trey Lance this year, okay, and you don't make the playoffs. Now the clock's on Trey, all that kind of stuff. Or if Trey gets hurt this year, worse than anything, and then you miss the playoffs, you're 5-12. Well, now you better get in the playoffs next year. But now there's a scenario in which Trey Lance could not be good. Replace him with Jimmy and still make the playoffs.
Oh, man.
And look, it's a little like Zito, but not quite, in that, the Giants kind of got away with that terrible signing of Zito. Why? Because they won titles during the time that they'd made that critical mistake, and then lo and behold, Zito helped them that one game.
Yeah.
One game.
He won 16 games.
But the equivalent of Zito's big game could be Jimmy
wins the Super Bowl.
Well, maybe not wins the Super Bowl, but wins a game or two along the line, or a playoff it's it protects them a little bit and gives them a little more wiggle. They got more of a leash while they're taking away some of Trey Lance's leash.
It's a hedge. How can you not say it's a hedge? It's a hedge.
Thank you. I took 3 minutes.
I'm not even disagreeing that it's a hedge because I think that's pretty clear. I just think that it's more about you can get Jimmy for really cheap, and you can prevent him from playing in your division, and that improves your Super Bowl equation this year. And then who knows? Who knows how long it's going to take for Trey Lance? I've heard this said a few times down there this in the last month. We know we got the right guy. Now it's about coaching him to be the right player. And maybe that's a process that's going to take more than a year.
Yeah, that's hard. And Willard, what did you say? I told Steiny in the green room, you heard whispers from people in the organization that, there's a possibility Jimmy could start week 2.
Well, again,
how heavy is that? Bury me with that.
When I say whisper, I don't want to make it sound like I talked to some coach. What I'm talking about there is, again, you have created a situation where, and this isn't just fans, and it's not just media, it's teammates. And Larry, you've actually, maybe in a backwards way, you've spoken to this. Like, what do you say to Trent Williams, who's 34 and wants to win a Super Bowl? If the 49ers come out losing, there's 2 ways to lose. It can be the defense was terrible and you lost 34-31, or Trey threw 2 pick sixes and you lost the football game. If they come out losing and it appears that Trey's the reason, it's got to be quick. It's a quick trigger to Jimmy Garoppolo because you owe it to the locker room. Yeah. If that's how the whole sideline feels, and now that timeline is so much shorter. So that's why we're saying, man, this really put Trey in a tough spot. Not because of his mental makeup, but because if he's not good, you got to yank him like right away. You don't have time to waste. It's the NFL.
I'm just saying that kind of the same way the Warriors didn't want to waste Steph and Clay and Draymond's prime years messing around, the Niners don't want to mess up they don't want to waste another year. Let's be honest, they've already wasted multiple years on injuries because they didn't have a quarterback and suddenly the whole thing came apart. I don't know that Kyle and John are well thought of, but they don't have another year to waste on. The quarterback wasn't ready. The quarterback was hurt. So having 2 quarterbacks in this scenario, they're gonna have a lot more leash from the audience and a lot more wiggle room if they can get a Super Bowl with whomever is at quarterback.
No doubt.
Exactly.
They're gonna have as a regime. They're gonna have more. They're gonna have more. Equity with the fan base if they can get the Super Bowl done.
Fascinating stuff.
Should be interesting.
Deshaun Gibson cut, by the way. Just want to throw that in there. Another cut for the 49ers. Deshaun Gibson has been cut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to Tart.
Maybe Jaquaski Tart. Yeah.
Steiny, you didn't see your boy look across the room, Willard, and he knew something was wrong with his boy. So I'm playing her emergency root canal for your boy.
Oh, damn.
I got my man.
I saw the furrowed brow.
You looked at me, Steiny. I didn't want to tell him I wasn't.
You came in, I'm like, he's struggling.
The truth, though.
Yeah, he's struggling. You all right?
looked at me and you looked, and I didn't answer back. So I said, I got to tell you what's up.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm fired up, though.
I can't.
I'm in
do
pain,
you know how much Guru would criticize Steph Curry before he stepped on the court and said, "Boy, I'm banged up today, everybody."
He knew something was wrong.
But he's here. He's here. If only we had a high level backup for Guru. Oh wait,
you're playing hurt. You're playing hurt.
That's all.
Look at that.
All right, go ahead and do it. Here comes Steiny and Goo. We got 45 minutes till Trey Sermon's a 49er.
What if JD replaced Goo mid-season?